For millions of years, giant dinosaurs ruled the Earth. Some were peaceful plant eaters, moving slowly through forests and floodplains. But others were powerful hunters that filled the ancient world with fear. Sharp teeth, crushing jaws, and strong clawed limbs turned the great meat-eaters into some of the most dangerous animals that ever lived. In this familiar picture, plant-eaters are the victims. Herds of hadrosaurs, horned ceratopsians, long-necked sauropods, and armored ankylosaurs are usually shown running, defending, or simply falling beneath the attacks of Tyrannosaurus, Allosaurus, and other predators. Their size, horns, and armor played an important role in survival. But the deadliest bite in the Mesozoic still seems to belong to the hunters. Or does it? Imagine a very different world. In this world, the most feared bite does not come from a T-Rex skull packed with thick, bone-crushing teeth, but from the beak of a grazing hadrosaur or the hooked mouth of a horned Triceratops relative. The bite does not tear an enemy apart in seconds. Instead, it delivers a slow, invisible attack. Venom that spreads through blood and muscle, turning a simple nip into a drawn-out, agonizing death. A large theropod charges what appears to be an easy meal, a lone plant-eater at the edge of a herd. Jaws slam shut on flesh. Bones crack. The predator pulls back, certain of victory. Then, minutes or hours later, its legs begin to tremble. Muscles refuse to answer. Venom starts to clot its blood and shut down its nerves. The hunter stumbles into the ferns, breathing hard, while its victim walks away. In this scenario, the plant-eater's defense is not just armor or bulk, it is biochemistry. Scientists have long known that venom has evolved many times in the history of life. There is evidence showing that reptiles, fish, mammals, and even some birds independently developed toxic glands and specialized teeth. Modern lizards, such as the Gila monster, and snakes across the world, use venoms that cause intense pain, destroy tissue, or interfere with blood and nerve signals. If smaller animals can do this today, what might giant dinosaurs have done with the same evolutionary tools many millions of years ago? This investigation asks a striking question. What if herbivorous dinosaurs joined that arms race? From venom-tipped tail clubs on ankylosaurs that not only shattered bones, but also injected blood-clotting toxins, to ceratopsian horns lined with grooves for delivering painful, shock-inducing chemicals. Plant-eaters could become biochemical nightmares for any attacker. Hadrosaurs might carry venom glands along their jaws, turning a defensive bite into a lingering threat, while even sauropods could, in theory, hide venomous spines or tail spikes that made each strike a deadly gamble for predators. Scientists have begun to outline what fossils from such animals might look like. Grooved teeth for channeling venom, extra skull canals for glands, or unusual bone surfaces along the jaws would all be powerful clues. None of these features are confirmed in known herbivorous dinosaurs, but imagining them helps reveal how completely venom could rewrite Mesozoic power balances. How would a tyrannosaur hunt if every bite on a hadrosaur might mean days of paralysis and infection? Would large predators avoid certain herds entirely, reshaping entire ecosystems and behaviors across continents? This documentary explores that possibility in detail. Using real venom biology, evidence from living animals, and the fossil record of plant-eating dinosaurs, it will trace how such a defense might evolve, how it would function, and how it could transform gentle giants into the most dangerous dinosaurs of their time. To understand how such a defense might truly work, the rules of the game must be set. Venom is not just any harmful chemical. In scientific terms, venom is a specialized biological secretion that is actively delivered into another animal through a bite, sting, or similar structure. Poisons, by contrast, are passive. They cause harm when touched or swallowed, but are not injected on purpose. This difference seems simple, but it plays an important role in how fossils are interpreted. Venom requires a delivery system built into the body, grooved or hollow teeth, stings, spines, or canals in the skull that guide secretions from glands to the outside. Poisons do not. When scientists examine ancient bones, they are not looking for vague traces of toxicity. They search for hard, structural evidence showing that an animal once injected venom in life. On the modern Earth, venom is one of the most successful defensive and offensive tools ever evolved. Venomous snakes use hollow fangs to inject complex cocktails. Some lizards, such as the Gila monster and Komodo dragon, possess modified salivary glands that deliver venom through grooves in their teeth. Certain shrews, fish, spiders, scorpions, and even a few mammals and birds also use venom to subdue prey or shock attacks. Scientists have identified that venom has evolved independently more than 100 times across the animal kingdom. This repeated origin shows that, given the right environment and pressures, venom is an evolutionary go-to solution. It can slow a predator, weaken prey, or create intense pain that teaches attackers to stay away. If so many unrelated animals discovered this strategy, why not dinosaurs many millions of years ago? The effects of venom depend on its chemistry. Neurotoxins interfere with nerves and muscles, leading to paralysis or loss of coordination. Hemotoxins attack blood and clotting systems, causing internal bleeding, swelling, or dangerous drops in blood pressure. Cytotoxins destroy tissue directly, leaving dead flesh and deep wounds that can become infected. Some venoms are dominated by pain-inducing compounds that send overwhelming signals through the nervous system, making even a small bite unforgettable. To deliver these substances, animals rely on specialized anatomy that can, in some cases, leave traces in fossils. Grooved or hollow teeth, reinforced to handle pressure, may show distinctive cross-sections. Skull bones can carry narrow canals, linking gland regions to the bases of teeth. In certain reptiles, enlarged spaces along the jawhouse, powerful venom glands, their outlines sometimes visible in well-preserved skulls. Such features give scientists clear targets when scanning dinosaur bones with modern imaging technology. Here, a puzzle appears. If venom has arisen so often in snakes, lizards, fish, and mammals, why is it not confidently reported in dinosaurs? Is the record truly empty, or are the clues subtle, fragmentary, and easy to miss? As the next section explores possible herbivorous candidates, that question will hang over every tooth and every groove. To answer that puzzle, the story must step back and look at evolution itself. For millions of years, life has repeatedly discovered the same dangerous solutions to survival problems. This repeating pattern, known as convergent evolution, is one of the most striking themes in the history of animals. Flight arose in insects, in pterosaurs, in bats, and in birds, each time using different bones and muscles to solve the same challenge of leaving the ground. In the same way, venom has appeared again and again in unrelated groups: snakes and certain lizards, cone snails and fish, even a few small mammals with toxic bites. Scientists have gathered evidence showing that the path to venom is not rare or mysterious. It is a route evolution takes whenever the environment rewards a bite that does more than simply cut or crush. Dinosaurs belonged to the archosaurs, a broader clan that also includes crocodiles and the ancestors of modern birds. Within the wider reptile family, several lineages already demonstrate that the basic biological toolkit can support venom. Gila monsters, beaded lizards, and Komodo dragons carry mildly to strongly toxic secretions in their mouths, delivered through grooved teeth and enlarged glands in the lower jaw. This shows that reptile salivary tissues can be reshaped into venom systems, and that such systems can play an important role in both hunting and defense. The realistic pathway does not begin with a dramatic, deadly bite. It likely starts with slightly irritating or mildly toxic saliva, perhaps full of proteins that slow blood clotting or increase pain. Over many millions of years, natural selection can favor individuals whose saliva makes a predator hesitate, bleed longer, or feel sudden weakness. Gradually, glands become more specialized, ducts more precise, and teeth more deeply grooved, turning a simple mouthful into a targeted injection system. Could gigantic plant-eating dinosaurs have followed this path? Their size did not make them invulnerable. Even a strong, armored herbivore faced repeated attacks from large theropods with powerful jaws and blade-like teeth. In such a world, any adaptation that made a predator think twice could mean survival. Modern large predators are highly risk-averse. Many will abandon prey if there is a serious chance of lingering, debilitating injury. A bite that caused intense swelling in a theropod's ankle, or venom that slowly damaged its muscles, might remove that hunter from the landscape for days or weeks. If venom is so evolutionarily accessible, the real question becomes more dramatic. What would happen to the entire dinosaur arms race if even a few herbivorous lineages crossed that threshold and turned their harmless-looking mouths into chemical weapons? As the next section examines specific groups and hypothetical venom types, the balance between hunter and hunted begins to look far less certain. For many millions of years, the classic image of the Mesozoic has shown giant theropods ruling the land. Some dinosaurs were peaceful plant eaters, but others were powerful hunters with huge jaws, slicing teeth, and strong legs that filled the ancient environment with fear. In that world, most herbivores are usually presented as heavy, slow targets, protected only by size, armor, or horns. In a venom-filled scenario, that balance changes immediately. Every bite into a plant eater could hide a second invisible weapon, a delayed chemical attack that begins only after the predator walks away. A theropod might overpower its victim and still lose the battle days later, as venom spreads through its blood, damages tissue, or shuts down vital organs. The most dangerous bite in the ecosystem would no longer belong only to the classic meat eaters. Large carnivores are highly sensitive to risk, and this would transform their hunting choices. Scientists have evidence showing that even modern top predators avoid prey that can seriously injure them, because one bad encounter can end a hunting career. If a single kick, tail swipe, or defensive bite from a herbivore often delivered venom, the cost of a mistake would rise sharply. For a giant hunter, a small chance of poisoning could make certain prey effectively off limits. This new risk calculus would echo through entire ecosystems. Herds of venom-armed plant eaters would survive more attacks, allowing injured but living adults to keep feeding, breeding, and passing on their defenses. Over time, species that combined heavy armor, thick skin, and toxic bites could flourish, while lightly defended, fast-running forms might decline. Why rely only on speed if predators hesitate to attack the slow, dangerous targets standing their ground? Such a world would drive an intense evolutionary arms race. Predators that continued to hunt venomous herbivores might evolve thicker skin around the snout and legs, or attack strategies focused on quick, high bites to the neck and spine that avoid the mouth entirely. Some lineages could even develop partial resistance to certain venoms, with altered blood chemistry or faster detoxification playing an important role in survival. Over millions of years, each new defensive toxin might be met by new countermeasures. Scientists have seen similar patterns in snakes and their prey, and there is evidence showing that venom systems can evolve many times in different groups. In a Mesozoic venom arms race, the same logic would apply on a gigantic scale. Imagine hadrosaurs, whose dental batteries deliver agonizing, blood-altering toxins, or horned ceratopsians, whose frill and facial horns carry slow-acting poisons into the deep wounds they inflict. Further along the spectrum, even the largest herbivores could join this chemical war. A sauropod's whipping tail, or a heavy ankylosaur club, might not only break bones, but also drive venom into a predator's flesh. As the next sections explore these case studies in detail, from venom-armed hadrosaurs to toxic horned ceratopsians, the familiar food chain of the Mesozoic begins to look far more uncertain and far more dangerous. In a world where even plant eaters could deliver a hidden chemical attack, not all herbivores would be equal. Some dinosaurs were simply better built to carry venom than others, turning gentle giants into toxic titans many millions of years ago. The first major group is the hadrosaurs, the duck-billed dinosaurs that filled late Cretaceous floodplains in vast herds. Their skulls were among the most complex of any herbivore, with broad beaks, deep jaws packed with hundreds of teeth, and in many species, towering crests filled with air spaces. Scientists have found that these crests and nasal passages formed intricate tubes and chambers. In a venom scenario, those same spaces could house large glands and canals, feeding toxic secretions toward the mouth. Ceratopsians, the horned dinosaurs like Triceratops, offer another remarkable framework. Their skulls were massive, with strong beaks, long horns, and wide frills made of thick bones. Beneath those frills, there was room for extensive soft tissue, blood vessels, and sinuses. If venom evolved in this group, it might concentrate around the bases of the horns, or within the upper jaw, turning a defensive stab or crushing bite into one of the most dangerous wounds a predator could suffer. Ankylosaurs, the armored tanks of the Cretaceous, present a different opportunity. Their bodies were covered in heavy plates and spikes, and many carried a solid tail club made of fused bones. Instead of fangs, these dinosaurs might use contact venoms, with toxins seeping from gland-lined sheaths around spikes or scales. A single swing of the tail could break bones and smear venom deep into torn muscle. Would a hungry theropod risk that kind of injury for a meal? Fossil bite marks on ankylosaur armor already show intense close-quarters battles with predators. Sauropods, the long-necked giants, seem less obvious at first, but their size itself could support rare yet devastating biochemical weapons. Some scientists have drawn parallels with modern large animals that use toxins in limited but powerful ways. A sauropod might carry slow-acting compounds in its saliva, or in specialized skin glands near the tail. One whip-like strike or deep bite could introduce chemicals that caused swelling, blood loss problems, or intense pain over days, turning a successful attack into a fatal mistake for the hunter. To choose the most plausible venom candidates, several criteria stand out. Complex skulls and jaws could support glands and delivery canals. Existing defensive structures, such as horns, beaks, clubs, and spikes, offer ideal contact points. Social behavior, including herds of hadrosaurs and ceratopsians, would magnify the effect of any venomous defense, as predators faced repeated risks in the same environment. Heavy ecological pressure from large carnivores would further drive this arms race. For this documentary, hadrosaurs and ceratopsians become the primary focus for true venom systems in the head, while ankylosaurs and sauropods explore body-based and impact venoms. Each group will be treated like a star predator segment. Their time period, anatomy, weapons, performance, and behavior reimagined through a venomous lens. The next sections turn from theory to case studies, asking in detail how these plant eaters might have fought back with chemistry as well as armor and bone. To turn theory into something alive, the first case study focuses on one of the most familiar plant eaters of all. For millions of years, herds of duck-billed dinosaurs have been shown as gentle shapes on the horizon, grazing quietly while powerful hunters take center stage. But in a venomous world, these same animals could become one of the most dangerous surprises in the entire ecosystem. Hadrosaurs, the so-called duck-billed dinosaurs, are traditionally pictured as mid-sized to large plant eaters, moving in great herds across river plains. They had broad-beaked snouts, long tails, and in many species, elaborate crests rising from the skull. In films and illustrations, they often appear as background animals, fleeing in panic while predators attack. Their role is usually simple: prey and nothing more. In reality, these dinosaurs were far from helpless. During the late Cretaceous, around 80 to 66 million years ago, hadrosaurs were among the most abundant herbivores in North America and Asia. Fossils show that they lived in rich floodplain environments, filled with rivers, forests, and coastal wetlands. In this world, they shared the landscape with apex predators, such as Tyrannosaurus in the north, and with smaller, fast-moving pack hunters and dromaeosaur raptors that tested the edges of every herd. Scientists have gathered evidence showing that hadrosaur defenses were already impressive without any chemistry at all. Their long, muscular legs suggest that many species could run quickly over open ground. Large eye sockets and complex inner ear structures indicate sharp senses, able to detect danger at a distance. The hollow crests of animals like Parasaurolophus likely acted as resonating chambers, turning the skull into a natural horn. Loud calls rolling across the floodplains may have played an important role in warning the group, coordinating movement and confusing predators. Yet all of this still fits the classic image of a prey animal, strong enough to escape, but not to truly fight back. So here, the thought experiment sharpens. What if the real secret weapon of the duckbills was not only in their legs or their voices, but hidden inside that harmless-looking beak and the massive battery of teeth behind it? What if a hadrosaur bite delivered venom that turned any close-range attack into a deadly gamble for a carnivore? In this scenario, the skull of a hadrosaur becomes more than a feeding machine for grinding plants. Imagine venom glands tucked deep in the cheeks, grooves along certain teeth, and channels in the jawbones guiding toxic fluid toward the bite. Could a single defensive snap leave a theropod staggering, its blood pressure crashing, or its muscles locking into painful spasms? The following segment examines this possibility in detail. It will move from real hadrosaur skull anatomy through a plausible layout of venom glands and delivery grooves, and then step inside a confrontation as a predator makes the mistake of seizing what looks like an easy meal. The outcome will show how one bite from a duckbill could change the balance of fear on the late Cretaceous plains. To understand how a plant eater could deliver such a dangerous bite, it is necessary to step inside one of the most complex skulls of the dinosaur world, the hadrosaur. These duck-billed dinosaurs carried broad, shovel-like beaks at the front of the mouth, backed by deep jaws packed with hundreds of tightly arranged teeth. Many millions of years ago, this system was already a biological machine for grinding tough plants. In this alternate scenario, it becomes something far more threatening. The skull of a typical hadrosaur was long and low, with strong bones forming a solid framework for chewing. Along the jaws sat dental batteries, where each position held stacks of replacement teeth rising like columns. Scientists have found fossils showing that these teeth were worn into flat, grinding surfaces, ideal for slicing and crushing vegetation. Behind the beak, muscular cheeks likely held food in place as it was processed, creating a wide, sealed chamber that could also hide something else: enlarged venom glands. In some species, the skull carried large hollow crests, filled with complex internal passages. In real fossils, these crests probably played an important role in display and sound production, acting as natural resonating chambers. In a venom-armed hadrosaur, the same hollow spaces could shelter extended salivary glands, modified into a semi-venomous system. From these glands, ducks could run down through the cheek region, threading between bones toward the edges of the beak and selected tooth rows. Along the sides of the upper and lower jaws, shallow grooves on the bone could guide this fluid. In living venomous lizards, such as the Gila monster, similar grooves help carry venomous saliva from the glands to the teeth. Here, the front edge of the beak, or a specific band of teeth, might be slightly ridged or grooved, allowing thickened saliva to pool and flow into a wound during a bite. The animal would not need hollow fangs, it would only need contact and pressure. This idea of venomous saliva is already seen in some modern shrews and lizards, where the line between ordinary saliva and true venom is blurred. The fluid does not always kill quickly, but it can thin blood, lower blood pressure, and send a victim into shock. In a hadrosaur, such a secretion could be released in sudden bursts when the animal bit down in panic, turning a defensive snap into a chemical attack. If such a system had existed, what traces would it leave in the fossils? Paleontologists might find subtle grooves along the jawbones that do not match simple blood vessels, or unusual canal patterns leading from the crest or cheek region toward the mouth. Slightly roughened areas on the inside of the lower jaw could mark the attachment of powerful glandular tissue. Scientists have used similar evidence showing grooves and canals in other reptiles to argue for venom systems. So, in this alternate world, hadrosaur skulls would be reinterpreted as warning signs rather than symbols of harmless grazers. In that case, a predator clamping its jaws around a hadrosaur's neck or flank would not only face strong muscle and thick skin. With every thrash and counterbite, venom-laden saliva would be pressed deep into the attacker's own wounds. How long could even the most powerful hunter keep its grip as its blood began to thin, its heartbeat faltered, and a strange numbness spread through its limbs? For millions of years, giant predators relied on strong jaws and sharp teeth. But in this imagined world, a plant-eater's bite becomes one of the most dangerous weapons in the entire ecosystem. The hadrosaur's mouth, shaped for cropping plants, now hides a chemical trap that turns every close encounter into a delayed disaster for any attacker. In this scenario, the venom is not a fast-acting nerve poison. Instead, it is a hemotoxic and anticoagulant blend, similar in principle to the venoms of some modern vipers. These toxins attack blood and soft tissues, breaking down vessel walls and preventing blood from clotting. Rather than dropping a predator instantly, they are designed to cause massive blood loss, internal bleeding, and eventual circulatory collapse over hours or even days. Scientists have evidence showing that many living snakes and some lizards use this kind of strategy. Certain viper venoms stop platelets from working properly, so even small wounds continue to bleed. In large animals, a tiny puncture that would normally seal in minutes can ooze for hours. Scaled up to dinosaur size, a modest dose delivered into already damaged muscle could be catastrophic, especially in a harsh Mesozoic environment filled with other hungry hunters. The defensive sequence might begin with a familiar scene. A tyrannosaur charges, its powerful legs driving it forward as it slams its jaws into a hadrosaur's flank. Teeth punch through skin, ribs creak and muscle tears. But as the predator bites down, the hadrosaur twists with all its weight, crushing and ripping its own tissue against the theropod's teeth. This violent movement shreds the inside of the predator's mouth, opening fresh cuts along the gums and tongue. Venom-rich saliva floods those wounds. Unlike a snake's hollow fang, the hadrosaur's delivery system works through deep lacerations created in the struggle. Every second the tyrannosaur maintains its grip, more saliva is rubbed into torn flesh. Letting go does not end the danger. The chemicals are already entering the blood, spreading through vessels that were damaged in the first impact. The cost builds quietly but relentlessly. A large predator that began the hunt with cracked ribs or strained muscles now faces unstoppable internal bleeding around those injuries. Bruises expand, joints swell, and blood pressure falls. The animal becomes weak, slower, and more easily exhausted. Open bite marks refuse to close, inviting infection as dirt and insects enter. In a landscape where fossils show frequent bite marks and healed fractures, such a handicap could mean the difference between dominance and death. This is the strategic advantage. The hadrosaur does not need to kill a tyrannosaur on the spot. It only needs to ensure that every attack carries a serious risk of long-term damage. Over many millions of years, predators that survive such encounters would learn to hesitate. Is a bleeding mouth, days of growing weakness, and the shadow of scavengers circling overhead worth the chance at one meal? In a venom-armed herbivore world, the answer might slowly shift, reshaping not only single battles, but entire hunting strategies, as the arms race between predator and prey enters a far more toxic phase. Over many millions of years, an arms race this dangerous would not only change behavior, it would leave marks in stone. In a world where hadrosaurs carried venom in their mouths, the fossil record itself would become a battlefield log, preserving the scars of countless toxic encounters between plant eaters and predators. the first signs would appear on theropod bones. Many large carnivores would be found with distinctive, ragged bite marks along the jaws, neck, and forelimbs, places where a panicked hadrosaur could strike back. Instead of clean punctures that healed with smooth new bone, the edges of these wounds would look uneven and swollen, with thin, lacy growth suggesting tissue that struggled to recover. Paleontologists studying these fossils would see abnormal healing patterns, evidence showing that flesh around the injury had been damaged far beyond the initial bite. In some skeletons, the damage would be even more dramatic. A tyrannosaur femur might show a cluster of deep tooth impressions from hadrosaur jaws, surrounded by warped, porous bone that hints at infection and slow repair. Scientists have seen similar reactions in modern animals exposed to venom that destroys blood vessels and soft tissue. In this alternate record, such features would be one of the most important clues that the bite delivered more than simple mechanical force. These injuries would not appear in isolation. Bone beds preserving multiple predators from the same region and time would reveal a pattern. Skulls and lower jaws of different theropod species would show matching lesions, pitted surfaces around the eyes, eroded ridges along the snout, and repeated damage near the joints that control the bite. Many individuals would bear nearly identical scars, suggesting that they all faced the same dangerous prey. Repeated, sublethal encounters with venomous hadrosaurs would be written into the bones of entire predator communities. The hadrosaurs themselves would also carry clues. Detailed scans of their skull fossils might reveal unusual canal networks running from enlarged pits along the jaw toward the tooth rows. In some specimens, thin mineralized films pressed against the inside of the skull could be interpreted as impressions of soft tissue glands. To paleontologists, these features would look strikingly similar to venom ducts and storage glands seen in certain reptiles in the modern environment. Paleopathology, the study of ancient disease and injury, would play an important role in tying these threads together. Instead of simple trauma, many predator deaths would show signs of systemic failure. Widespread bone infection, uneven growth rings, and signs of long-term stress before death. Combined with localized bite damage matching hadrosaur teeth, scientists would build a strong case that venom, not just broken bones, helped finish these hunters. In this timeline, hadrosaurs would no longer be passive prey. Their biochemical weapons would shape who lived, who died, and how entire ecosystems functioned, leaving a toxic signature etched into the very bones of their enemies. That toxic signature would not only mark the dead, it would reshape how the living hunted, watched, and calculated every risk in a world where plant eaters carried hidden chemical weapons. In such an environment, large theropods could no longer treat hadrosaur herds as simple moving meat. Powerful predators like tyrannosaurids and carcharodontosaurids would become far more cautious, turning away from the massive alert adults at the center of the group and focusing instead on juveniles at the edges, or individuals separated by rivers, dense vegetation, or darkness. Evidence showing that modern large hunters avoid dangerous prey suggests that these dinosaurs would change their attack angles as well, driving in from the flanks and hindquarters, carefully avoiding the head and mouth where venomous teeth waited. Ambush would become one of the most important tools. Rather than long, exhausting chases alongside a herd, a strong theropod might wait in cover near a crossing point or forest gap, launching a sudden rush aimed at the legs, tail base, or spine. A A short, brutal impact, a few slashing bites to cripple, and then a rapid retreat would lower the chance of contact with the deadly jaws of a duck-billed dinosaur. Many millions of years ago, even the most fearsome carnivores could not afford a slow, wrestling kill if a single counterbite meant days of spreading venom. Mid-sized pack-hunting theropods would push this strategy even further. Scientists have studied how wolves and lions coordinate to harass large herbivores, and similar behavior might appear here. Some individuals would rush in close, roaring and snapping to turn the hadrosaur's head away, while others slipped behind to strike at tendons in the legs or deep muscles at the base of the tail. Quick bites, then withdrawal. The goal would be to topple or paralyze a victim without ever letting its venomous mouth find a target. Not every hunter would survive these encounters. Venom-weakened giants, staggering for hours or days after an apparently successful kill, would create a new niche. Specialized scavengers, including smaller theropods and early mammals, would learn to track the scent and sound of a failing predator, feeding on its carcass once the toxins and blood loss finished the job. Parasites and biting insects could also take advantage of slowed, confused victims, spreading infection through already damaged tissue and leaving clear traces in fossils as unusual bone infections and bite scar patterns. Hadrosaurs would not remain passive in this arms race. Tighter herd formations around vulnerable juveniles, shifting constantly to keep venomous heads pointed outward, would make a living wall of toxic mouths. Sentinel individuals at the edges, raising heads and giving loud calls, could warn of approaching predators before an ambush began. Over time, bright facial patterns, swollen crests, or ritualized gape displays showing grooved, venom-carrying teeth might advertise their dangerous status, teaching inexperienced hunters to keep their distance. But if duckbills could turn soft tissue and simple chewing teeth into biochemical weapons, what would happen when horns, frills, and armor plates received the same deadly upgrade? For millions of years, giant horned dinosaurs turned ancient plains into arenas of strength and intimidation. Some were peaceful plant eaters, but others carried such massive armor and weapons that even the most powerful hunters had to think twice before attacking. Among them, Triceratops was one of the most dramatic. This late Cretaceous ceratopsian carried an enormous skull with a broad bony frill, 2 long brow horns, and a shorter spike over the nose. Its head alone could reach the height of a human, and the strong bones of the frill formed a living shield over the neck and shoulders. In life, these horns were covered in a tough sheath, turning them into sharp, driving spears when the animal charged. These dinosaurs lived around 68 to 66 million years ago in what is now Western North America. At that time, the environment was a warm, river-rich landscape of floodplains, forests, and coastal lowlands. Fossils show that Triceratops shared this world with Tyrannosaurus rex, large ankylosaurs covered in armor, and great herds of duck-billed hadrosaurs. This crowded ecosystem created constant tension as predators searched for weaknesses and herbivores relied on strength, numbers, and defensive weapons. The natural defenses of ceratopsians were already impressive. The wide frill protected the neck, while powerful neck muscles could swing the head like a living battering ram. A charging Triceratops could lower its skull, lock its legs, and drive its horns forward with great force. Scientists have found fossils with healed wounds and horn damage, evidence showing that these animals sometimes clashed with each other and possibly with large predators. In herds, adults may have formed defensive circles around juveniles, presenting a forest of horns to any approaching hunter. But imagine a further twist. Along the cheeks and base of the frill, specialized glands develop, secreting a thick, venomous fluid. As the animal rubs its face and frill, this toxin coats the horn sheaths and any small spikes or roughened edges on the frill margin. Every goring charge would no longer deliver just tearing trauma and broken bones. It would also drive venom deep into the flesh of a predator, turning a single successful hit into the beginning of a slow internal disaster. What kind of venom would best match such a weapon? A fast-acting nerve toxin is less likely, because large theropods were huge and difficult to stop instantly. Instead, a venom that disrupts blood clotting, destroys tissue, or causes extreme pain and swelling would play an important role. A Tyrannosaurus that escaped with a horn wound might stagger away, only to grow weaker over hours as bleeding continued and tissue around the injury began to rot. Could such a system really evolve in herbivorous dinosaurs? Venom has appeared independently many times in reptiles and mammals, so there is strong comparative evidence. Glands that first produced irritating secretions for scent marking or parasite defense could, over many millions of years, become more toxic. Predators that survived a venomous horn strike would remember the agony. Their descendants might avoid certain frill shapes or horn patterns, reshaping the entire hunting landscape. In the next section, this arms race will be pushed even further onto the living tanks of the dinosaur world. Among the horned dinosaurs, this arms race would be written directly into the skull. Ceratopsians carried some of the most spectacular heads in the animal kingdom, with massive frills, deep skulls, and long facial horns covered in keratin sheaths. The frill alone provided a huge surface area of bone and soft tissue, crossed by strong muscle attachments that helped move the head like a living shield. In a venomous lineage, those same attachment zones could also anchor enlarged glands. The skull of a triceratops-like animal was one of the most remarkable frameworks for such a system. At the bases of the brow horns, the bones are thick, with complex surfaces where blood vessels and nerves once passed. Scientists have evidence showing that in many reptiles, similar regions sit close to salivary and scent glands. In a toxic ceratopsian, those spaces could cradle powerful venom organs wrapped in muscle, squeezing their contents toward the horn sheaths during moments of stress. From there, the weapon itself would do the rest. Keratin horns are not perfectly smooth. Under magnification, they show tiny ridges and microgrooves. If venom seeped out at the horn base, capillary action could slowly wick it along these channels, coating the outer surface. A charging dinosaur would not need hollow fangs. Any puncture or deep scratch could push the toxin down into muscle, where it would linger and spread. A similar arrangement could exist in the cheeks. Ceratopsians had deep, muscular faces with strong jaw muscles anchoring along the back of the skull and under the frill. Between those muscles, soft tissue pouches could evolve into venom glands, opening along the gums or skin folds around the beak. With each head shake or clash, secretions would smear over horns, nasal bosses, and even the rough edges of the frill itself. What if the most dangerous part of that huge collar was not the bone, but the invisible film covering it? Modern analogues make this idea less strange. Some fish carry venom in grooves along their spines, while certain amphibians exude toxins through the skin that kill on contact. These animals do not inject like snakes. They weaponize touch. In a similar way, a ceratopsian's frill could act like a toxic shield, and its horns like venom-coated spears, turning every impact into a chemical as well as a physical attack. Behavior would reinforce the system. Many horned mammals rub their horns on trees or the ground, sharpening the tips and spreading secretions from the base to the point. A venomous ceratopsian could do the same, grinding its horns against each other or against rough bark to refresh the coat. Each ritual display, each dominance clash, would also be a maintenance routine for its chemical armor. Imagine the consequence for a predator. A tyrannosaur lunges in, misjudges the charge, and takes a horn to the leg. The wound is shallow, bones intact, and the hunter limps away. For a day, it survives. Then swelling begins, tissue around the puncture turning dark as venom-induced necrosis eats through muscle. Infection follows. In a hostile, late Cretaceous environment, even one of the most powerful carnivores could collapse, not from broken bones or shattered teeth, but from a toxin delivered in a single glancing blow. In the next section, the same logic will be driven into armor and tail clubs, turning living tanks into rolling chemical weapons. For millions of years, powerful predators relied on strong jaws and sharp teeth. But in this altered Cretaceous world, the most frightening weapon in a ceratopsian's arsenal is invisible. It is not the horn itself that ends the hunt. It is what rides inside the horn. In this scenario, the perfect ceratopsian venom is dominated by cytotoxins and extreme pain-inducing compounds. Scientists have studied modern vipers and certain lizards, finding evidence showing that similar blends cause instant burning pain, rapid swelling, and progressive tissue death around the wound. Translated into a triceratops, each horn becomes a syringe for a chemical cocktail that rips apart cell membranes, disrupts blood flow, and floods nerves with signals of agony. The physical impact of the horn is just the beginning. The real damage continues for days. Such a venom does not need to be instantly lethal to change the balance of power. In fact, in large dinosaurs, slow venom can be one of the most effective strategies. A tyrannosaur that survives the initial goring may still be doomed as muscle fibers die, blood vessels collapse, and infection spreads through deep tissue. The predator can no longer run at full speed or turn quickly. Its massive body becomes a prison, trapped by a wound that refuses to heal. Imagine a confrontation on a muddy floodplain. A hungry Tyrannosaurus charges, its strong legs churning the ground, jaws open and lined with thick, bone-crushing teeth. The Triceratops lowers its head and surges forward. Horn and thigh meet with a heavy impact. Venom-coated keratin slides deep into muscle before the horn rips free. The Tyrannosaur staggers back, howling, and limps away rather than risk another strike. For a moment, it seems to have escaped. Over the next days, the true weapon reveals itself. The puncture site swells, then darkens. Skin around the wound turns purple, then black, as venom-induced necrosis spreads. The hole widens, exposing damaged muscle and even glistening bones beneath. Every step sends waves of pain through the leg. In a harsh, late Cretaceous environment, where hunting demands full strength, this crippled predator struggles to chase even small prey. Starvation and infection become as deadly as any bite. Those that survive such encounters carry more than scars. They carry memories. A healed tyrannosaur with a twisted, shrunken thigh would remember the shape of that frilled silhouette. Behavioral aversion spreads as young predators watch injured adults avoid horned dinosaurs whenever possible. Over time, venomous ceratopsians become a no-go prey category, too risky to attack except in moments of desperation. At the ecosystem level, this chemical defense played an important role in redirecting predator pressure. Large hunters are forced toward less dangerous targets, perhaps smaller hadrosaurs or more elusive juveniles. Predator territories shift, hunting strategies change, and the entire food web bends around the threat of poisoned horns. In the next section, this same logic moves from the front of the body to the back, as armored dinosaurs turn tail clubs and plates into living reservoirs of venom, reshaping the battlefield yet again. Predators may avoid a herd of venomous herbivores, but the rock record in this alternate world would still remember every mistake. For millions of years, the bones of wounded hunters would quietly archive the cost of misjudging a charging ceratopsian. Those fossils become the first real map of a toxic battlefield. Many theropod skeletons living alongside these horned dinosaurs would show a strange pattern. Long leg bones and ribs would carry deep, round punctures with clean circular profiles that match the tips of ceratopsian horns almost perfectly. Around some of these holes, the bone would be swollen and knotted, with ragged, irregular growth. Scientists have evidence showing that such textures often come from long-term infection and repeated inflammation. In this scenario, they would point to predators that survived the initial impact, but not the venom slowly spreading through their bodies. Other punctures would tell a darker story. Some limb bones would show sharp-edged circular wounds with no healing at all, frozen at the exact moment of impact. In regions where horned dinosaurs were common, a higher number of theropod fossils would end in this way. The contrast between healed, twisted scars and untouched, fatal holes would be one of the most powerful signals that something more than simple stabbing was at work. Closer to the ceratopsians themselves, the horns would carry their own clues. The bony cores that once supported the outer keratin sheaths might show fine microgrooves running along their length, or a roughened surface, especially dense near the tips. In modern venomous animals, such as some lizards and spined fish, similar textures help retain toxic fluid along a tooth or spine. Under magnification, these fossil grooves would suggest that ceratopsian horns were not just strong spears, but channels for a thin coating of venom delivered on impact. Around the bases of the horns and along the edges of the frill, rare fossils might preserve faint traces of mineralized soft tissue. Under powerful microscopes, scientists have identified specialized secretory structures in other fossils. And in this world, they would search for clustered cell spaces, branching ducts, and gland-like chambers. Even fragmentary remains of such tissue would have played an important role in confirming that these regions once housed venom glands feeding the horn sheaths and facial spikes. Across entire ecosystems, statistics would complete the picture. Predator populations living in environments rich in large ceratopsians would show higher mortality rates, especially from severe limb injuries that never fully healed. Many theropods would die not from shattered bones, but from infections and slow organ failure following horn strikes. The pattern would be clear. A single misjudged charge did not simply injure a hunter. It began a slow-motion biological execution that ended in the dust many millions of years ago. For millions of years, the price of a mistake in the late Cretaceous was measured in broken bones and slow deaths. With venomous ceratopsian horns, that price changed, and the entire battlefield between predator and plant eater became a careful game of distance, timing, and fear. Along the river plains, tyrannosaurs no longer charged directly into horned herds. Instead, they shadowed them. A large predator might follow at the edge of sight, pacing the same route for days, watching for a limp, a lagging stride, or a young animal drifting from its mother. Scientists have evidence showing that large hunters are highly risk-averse, and in this altered environment, a single horn strike did not just break bone, it threatened organ failure and venom-driven collapse. This pushed tyrannosaurs toward new tactics. Rather than aiming for the massive heads and deadly frills, they would focus on the unarmored hindquarters, driving in from behind with quick, slashing bites, and then pulling away before the horns could turn. Juveniles at the edge of the herd became one of the most tempting targets, their shorter frills and smaller horns offering less reach. Hit-and-run attacks, with powerful legs carrying the predator in and out of danger in seconds, would replace the crushing, wrestling assaults often imagined by scientists studying these dinosaurs. The ceratopsians answered with behavior as dangerous as their weapons. When threatened, a herd could form a tight defensive circle. Adults on the outside, horns and venom-tipped brow spikes angled outward like a living fortress. Heads swung in measured arcs, creating a moving barrier that dared any hunter to come closer. Visual displays became critical. Flared frills, bright facial patterns, stomping forelimbs, and lowered heads signaled not only strength, but the hidden chemical threat inside those horns. In such an environment, combat did not always mean contact. Over time, tyrannosaurs would learn to read these signals, just as many predators today recognize the warning colors of venomous snakes. Scientists have found evidence showing that repeated, non-lethal encounters can shape predator behavior, and here, the cost of testing a warning was simply too high. The result would be long standoffs across open floodplains, predators pacing and roaring, ceratopsians stamping and displaying, with only rare, desperate clashes breaking the tension. This shift played an important role in reducing constant bloodshed. Energy was saved, bones were spared, and the threat of venom did much of the work that brute force once handled alone. But if horns and beaks could carry such hidden power, what about the true living tanks of the dinosaur world? In the next step of this arms race, the focus turns to the low, armored shapes moving through the undergrowth. What happens when the heavy tail clubs of ankylosaurs are not just strong, but armed with venom? For millions of years, the safest place in a dinosaur herd was beside the living tanks at its edge. Ankylosaurs moved low to the ground, wrapped in armor, turning plant-eating bodies into rolling fortresses. In a world of powerful jaws and slicing teeth, these herbivores turned defense into an art form. Ankylosaurs were some of the most heavily protected dinosaurs ever to evolve. Their bodies were low-slung and wide, with a very low center of gravity that made them hard to flip or topple. Thick, bony plates, called osteoderms, formed a shield over the neck, back, and hips, while rows of spikes lined the sides. In several species, the tail ended in a massive bony club, strong enough to crack bones with a single, well-aimed swing. These armored dinosaurs lived mainly during the late Jurassic and Cretaceous periods, many millions of years ago, across what is now North America and Asia. Fossils place them in river plains, coastal lowlands, and forested valleys, sharing the same environment as large theropods such as tyrannosaurids and allosaur-like predators. In these ecosystems, every drink at a waterhole and every move between feeding grounds meant passing within range of hunters ready to test their defenses. Even without venom, ankylosaurs were already one of the most dangerous herbivores to attack. Their armor was close to impenetrable from above. Their bellies were protected by their low build, and their legs were short but sturdy. A charging predator that misjudged the distance could meet a swinging tail club that shattered leg bones or crushed ribs. Scientists have found evidence showing that similar weapons in other dinosaurs, like the tail spikes of stegosaurs, could inflict deep, lethal wounds. In this thought experiment, the armor does not change, but the tail club becomes far more than a blunt weapon. Imagine specialized scales or short, reinforced spines along the surface of the club, each connected to venom glands buried in the tail. When the club smashed into a predator's leg or flank, the impact would drive these structures into flesh, turning every broken bone into a venom injection site. Venom in modern reptiles often causes intense pain, swelling, and tissue damage rather than instant death. Transferred to ankylosaurs, a single strike could fill the wound with toxins that disrupted blood flow, destroyed muscle, or interfered with nerves. A theropod that survived the initial impact might stagger away, only to weaken over hours or days as infection-like symptoms spread through its body. How many hunters would risk approaching such prey twice? For a large predator, this changes the calculation completely. One failed attack on an ankylosaur would no longer mean only a broken limb and a long recovery. It could mean a slow, venom-driven death that removed a hunter from the ecosystem entirely. In that kind of arms race, even the bravest carnivores might turn their attention towards softer, less dangerous targets. If ankylosaurs became walking minefields that punished every mistake so harshly, how would other herbivores respond? In the next section, the focus shifts to the giants of the Mesozoic, and to a very different kind of weapon. Venom carried not in a club, but in the sweeping tails of sauropods. If ankylosaurs turned into walking minefields, their armor would not just block attacks, it would strike back. Many millions of years ago, these low, tank-like dinosaurs already carried one of the most intimidating defensive weapons on Earth, a massive tail club backed by rows of heavy bony plates. In a venomous world, that same armor could hide a far more sinister secret just beneath the surface. Along the back and flanks of ankylosaurs, the skin was packed with osteoderms, bony armor plates locked into a mosaic. Scientists have found fossils showing that some of these plates carried sharp ridges and spiky projections. In a venom-armed lineage, those spikes become more than passive shields. Their rough, jagged tips would form ideal contact points, where venom-coated surfaces could scrape, pierce, and smear toxins directly into any predator's torn skin. The tail club itself offers an even more dramatic possibility. Imagine the outer scales and small spikes on the club, not as simple coverings, but as armored caps sitting above specialized pockets of tissue. In this scenario, subdermal venom glands lie just under selected scales or spines. When the club slams into a target, the force compresses these glands, pushing venom through tiny pores or microchannels that open between scale edges. The impact that already cracks bones would, at the same moment, flood the wound with toxic fluid. This kind of system would not be unique in the animal world. Scientists have documented venomous spurs in mammals, such as the platypus, where pressure on a hind leg spur drives venom from a gland into the attacker. There is also strong evidence showing that some amphibians carry skin packed with toxins that ooze out when squeezed or bitten. In both cases, contact and pressure trigger the release. A venom-primed ankylosaur tail would follow the same basic principle, scaled up to dinosaur size. Behavior would make this weapon even more effective. Before a confrontation, an ankylosaur could swing its tail in low arcs, brushing the club against the ground, broken branches, or rough tree trunks. This motion would spread venom across the armor plates and spikes, evening out any patches, much like a brush loading paint. Could repeated practice swings against vegetation also help signal to predators that this was a dangerous target, changing the entire behavior of the ancient environment? Then comes the strike. A large theropod lunges in, underestimating its prey. The tail whips around with powerful force, the heavy club smashing into the predator's leg. Bones crack, skin tears, fragments of scale and shattered armor grind through flesh. Venom-laced fluids surge from compressed glands, pouring into deep tissue and along splintered bone. Even if the predator limps away alive, the real damage has only begun, setting the stage for spreading pain, swelling, and weakness in the hours that follow. In the next section, attention turns from armored tanks to long-necked giants, and to a different question: what happens when a sauropod's sweeping tail becomes a venom-charged whip? As the venom seeps along shattered bone, the ankylosaur's true weapon is revealed. The crushing impact is only the opening act. Hidden within the wound is a chemical curse designed not for speed, but for slow, devastating aftershock. In this scenario, the most effective ankylosaur venom would be dominated by cytotoxins and necrotizing agents. Instead of shutting down nerves or stopping the heart, it would attack the very fabric of the flesh. Scientists have studied modern snakes and lizards with similar venoms, where complex molecules tear open cell membranes and disrupt blood flow in the surrounding tissue. For a dinosaur that already smashes limbs with a single swing, such a venom would be one of the most efficient ways to turn a broken leg into a spreading catastrophe. Around the impact site, cells would begin to die within hours. The damaged area would swell as fluids leak from ruptured vessels, turning muscle into a tight, painful mass. Necrotizing components would choke off tiny blood vessels, leaving patches of skin and muscle starved of oxygen. These dead zones would darken, blister, and peel away, creating open wounds that invite bacteria, insects, and even small scavengers. Evidence showing that similar processes occur in modern venom injuries suggests that large regions of rotting tissue could form around a single club strike. Imagine the sequence. A large theropod charges, jaws open, teeth ready. The ankylosaur pivots, its tail club slamming into the predator's lower leg with incredible strength. Bones snap. The attacker roars and pulls back, limping away into the forest. At first, it survives, but over the next days, the limb balloons with swelling. Cracks in the skin widen as pressure builds, and foul-smelling fluid seeps out. Flesh along the fracture line turns black, then splits, exposing bones and tendons. Flies gather. Infection spreads through the bloodstream. The theropod can no longer run, can barely stand, and soon cannot hunt at all. In this system, the ankylosaur does not need to chase or finish the job. Its defense is economic. Make the cost of a single mistake unbearably high. A predator that survives such an encounter carries the memory in every painful step. Over many millions of years, natural selection would favor hunters that avoid these armored, venomous tanks entirely. Those that ignored the warning would leave fewer descendants. On a population level, this changes the map of the ancient environment. Ankylosaur herds become moving no-touch zones, patches of living armor and chemical danger that predators learn to skirt. Their preferred riverbanks, forests, and floodplains would play an important role in shaping hunting routes, ambush sites, and even nesting grounds. Scientists have evidence showing that large predators are highly risk-averse. In a world of venom-armed herbivores, that caution would redraw entire ecosystems. But ankylosaurs are only one chapter. What happens when the same principle is applied to a whip-tailed giant stretching the length of a city bus? In this imagined fossil record, the story of venom-armed ankylosaurs is not told by skin or glands, but by shattered predator bones. For millions of years, powerful theropods tested these walking fortresses, and the results would be frozen in stone. Some of the most dramatic evidence would appear in their limbs. Paleontologists would uncover femurs and lower leg bones from large meat-eating dinosaurs that show catastrophic fractures, snapped and splintered as if by a single high-energy impact. The break lines would radiate from one side, matching the shape and direction of a tail club blow. Around these breaks, the fossils would show irregular, lumpy collars of extra bone, a thick, swollen ring where the skeleton tried to repair itself. In many cases, that healing would be incomplete, with rough surfaces and pockets that suggest long-lasting infection made worse by venom-damaged tissue. Scientists have evidence showing that venom in modern animals often turns clean injuries into rotting, open wounds. In this alternate Mesozoic, thin sections taken from those damaged theropod bones would reveal the same pattern. Under the microscope, dense bands of chaotic new bone would cut across older, organized layers, telling of repeated attempts to wall off infection. Tiny channels filled with mineralized debris would mark areas where blood vessels once carried toxins, and signs of chronic inflammation would stand out, just as in living creatures exposed to necrotizing venoms. The ankylosaurs themselves would also carry the signature of this dangerous adaptation. Their armor plates and tail clubs, already one of the most distinctive defenses among dinosaurs, would show fine micro-pitting and canal-like grooves leading from the interior toward the surface. In this timeline, scientists have learned to read those textures as pathways where venom once flowed, seeping along the outer keratin sheaths or concentrating at the impact points of the club. Such canals would be too organized to dismiss as random wear from the environment. At some fossil sites, the pattern would become impossible to ignore. Mass mortality beds of theropods scattered across floodplain sediments would reveal multiple individuals from different ages, but the same region, all with similar twisted, scarred limb bones. Many would show healed or half-healed club fractures, the same lumpy overgrowth, the same internal signs of long, venom-driven infection. What could kill so many large predators without leaving bite marks on their ribs or skulls? In this world, the answer is clear. Ankylosaurs are walking minefields. Each attempt to flip or corner one carries the risk of a shattered leg, followed by weeks of spreading tissue death. Even survivors would limp through the rest of their lives, their skeletons permanently warped. Those broken, swollen fossils would play an important role in reconstructing fear itself in these ecosystems. And in the next chapter, That fear extends to giants that fight not with clubs, but with whips of living bone and venom. In such a world, living alongside a venomous ankylosaur becomes an exercise in constant calculation. For millions of years, predators that once charged freely at armored prey would be forced into a different role, patient shadows at the edge of danger. Large theropods trail these living tanks at a distance, keeping just close enough to smell weakness, but far enough to avoid a single poisoned blow that could end their hunting careers. Scientists have evidence showing that large carnivores, both ancient and modern, are highly risk-averse. A broken leg or infected wound is often a slow death sentence. In a landscape filled with ankylosaurs, whose tail clubs deliver venom that rots tissue and clots blood, the safest strategy is to wait. Old individuals that fall behind the herd, animals weakened by disease, or those that die during droughts become one of the most important food sources. Predators learn that the strongest defense in this environment is patience. This caution does not mean every ankylosaur is safe. Juveniles, with thinner armor and venom systems that are still developing, create dangerous temptations. A half-grown ankylosaur might have smaller glands, weaker delivery grooves in its tail spines, and less concentrated toxins. Fast theropods test the edges of family groups, rushing in to probe for gaps. In response, ankylosaur parents close ranks around their young, forming living walls of bone and horn. Their powerful tails sweep in overlapping arcs, turning any approach into a lottery of shattered bones and venom-soaked wounds. Over time, this interaction reshapes entire communities. Venomous ankylosaurs become moving fortresses that other herbivores learn to follow. Herds of hadrosaurs and small ornithopods drift along their flanks, using the armored bodies as shields. Even horned dinosaurs may graze nearby, knowing that a mixed herd around these tanks lowers the chance of a direct attack. The result is a series of safe zones that slide slowly across the landscape, areas where the risk of predation drops sharply, simply because the cost of hunting there is too high. This creates a new landscape of fear. Predators concentrate in regions where ankylosaurs are rare. Open floodplains, forest edges, and river crossings far from the armored herds. Other areas, rich in ankylosaur trails and tail drag marks preserved in ancient sediments, become quiet corridors where nervous herbivores can feed with fewer sudden chases. Fossils from such an environment would show patchy patterns of bite marks, healed fractures, and predator trackways clustering away from the paths of these venomous tanks. If the smallest of the great armored herbivores can push powerful hunters into such narrow niches, what happens when venom is scaled up? What would a landscape look like when the whip-like tails of giant sauropods carry not only strong bones, but glands of slow, crushing poison? In the next chapter, those questions turn from speculation into a terrifying new model of the largest land animals ever to walk the earth. For many millions of years, some of the largest creatures ever to walk the earth moved like living mountains across floodplains and forests. These were the sauropods, long-necked, long-tailed giants that turned entire landscapes into feeding grounds and cast shadows that could swallow a hunting theropod whole. Among them, Argentinosaurus and Diplodocus stand out as two of the most impressive examples. Argentinosaurus may have weighed over 30 tons, with a body so massive that each step pressed deep tracks into soft ground. Diplodocus stretched out like a living bridge, with a whip-like tail and a neck that could sweep across trees and riverbanks. These herbivorous dinosaurs used their long necks to reach leaves high above, while their strong, pillar-like legs supported a body made of heavy bones, air-filled vertebrae, and powerful muscles. Traditionally, their defense did not depend on secret weapons hidden under the skin. Size itself was one of the most important protections. A healthy adult sauropod towered above most predators, able to see danger approaching from far across the open environment. Many fossils show that some species formed herds, with adults surrounding smaller juveniles, turning their bulk into a living wall. Their tails were not just for balance. A fast swing from a multi-ton tail could shatter bones, and in some species the tip may have cracked like a bullwhip. Yet even these giants were not completely safe. Scientists have found evidence showing that large theropods targeted young or injured sauropods, using coordinated attacks to separate them from the group. In such moments, when size and herding failed, what else could a giant plant eater use? Here, the speculation takes a darker turn. Imagine a diplodocus that does not only lash out with a tail, but delivers venom with the strike. In this scenario, venom would not replace mass and muscle, but act as a rare, last resort deterrent. A single bite from a specialized tooth row in the front of the jaw, or a deep cut from a tail spine linked to hidden glands, could inject toxins into a predator's flesh. Even if the attack did not kill outright, intense pain, swelling, or slow internal damage would raise the cost of every attempt. Would a theropod risk an agonizing infection, or a nervous system shocked into weakness, just for the chance at sauropod meat? From an evolutionary point of view, such a system is not impossible. Venom has evolved independently many times in reptiles and mammals, and even large animals can gain an advantage from making attackers regret contact. A giant that rarely needs to use venom could favor toxins that disable over hours or days, rather than instant killers. The key questions become anatomical. Where could glands hide in such a massive skull? Could grooved teeth at the front of the mouth, or specialized channels along tail vertebrae, carry poison into a wound? The next step is to move from imagination to structure. The following section will examine the skulls, necks, and tails of these long-necked dinosaurs, and ask what kind of venom system could fit inside the bodies of the largest land animals in history. To find those hidden fangs in the giants, the search begins with the head. Sauropod skulls were surprisingly small compared to their huge bodies, with long jaws lined by peg-like or spatulate teeth designed to strip leaves rather than slice flesh. Yet inside those modest skulls, there was room for extensive soft tissue. Large salivary glands already played an important role in wetting vegetation and beginning digestion. In a venom scenario, the same glands could, in theory, be modified into slow-acting chemical weapons. Scientists have evidence showing that venom has evolved independently many times in reptiles and mammals, often by slightly changing ordinary salivary tissues. A similar pathway in sauropods would not require hollow fangs. Instead, their simple teeth could act like rough chisels, opening shallow wounds while toxic saliva flowed over the bite. Grooves along certain teeth, or subtle channels in the jawbones, might help guide the fluid toward the injury, much like some modern lizards that deliver venom without dramatic, saber-like fangs. In this model, the neck becomes one of the most dangerous parts of the animal. Many millions of years ago, long-necked dinosaurs already used powerful sweeps of the head as a physical defense. A sideways lash of the skull could knock a predator off balance or crush ribs. If the bite at the end of that motion also smeared venom into torn skin, the attack would shift from a single impact to a lingering threat. The immediate damage might be minor, but compounds that reduce blood clotting, cause shock, or intensify pain could turn a brief clash into a serious medical crisis for any attacker. Modern Komodo dragons provide a useful analogue. Their mouths contain bacteria and venom-like secretions that can contribute to rapid blood loss and collapse in bitten animals. The bite is not instantly fatal, yet it changes the entire encounter, forcing prey into weakness over hours. A sauropod with mildly toxic saliva could create a similar effect in reverse, encouraging even strong theropods to break off the hunt, rather than risk a wound that keeps getting worse. Yet the mouth is only half the story. Sauropod tails were already like living ribs, built from long chains of bones and powerful muscles. Imagine the final vertebrae supporting a cluster of hardened scales or short spines, each coated in contact venom from specialized skin glands. A tail strike that once only broke bones would also smear toxins into deep bruises and cuts. Even a glancing blow could leave a predator dizzy, bleeding, or in agonizing pain hours later. If a 30-ton herbivore can both crush and poison with head or tail, the psychological map of its environment changes. How does a hungry apex predator judge that risk? Does it charge in as before? Or does one of the most dangerous plant eaters in history finally turn fear back on the hunters themselves? For millions of years, giant sauropods were seen as slow, gentle plant eaters. But in this altered world, their bites and tails carry a hidden chemical weapon. The result is not an instant kill, but a drawn-out, punishing threat that hangs over every hungry predator that dares to come close. In this scenario, sauropod venom is built for warning and punishment rather than speed. Instead of a fast-acting neurotoxin, it combines powerful pain-inducing molecules with moderate hemotoxic effects that attack blood and soft tissues. Scientists have identified similar strategies in modern venomous lizards, where the goal is to shock, weaken, and discourage, not to drop large prey in seconds. For a theropod weighing several tons, such venom would not stop the first charge, but it would turn any contact into a dangerous gamble. On a late Jurassic floodplain, a pack of medium-sized theropod dinosaurs circles a juvenile sauropod that has strayed just a little too far from its herd. The air is hot, the ground shakes under many feet, and the predators test the edges, darting in with snapping teeth, searching for a weak spot. The mother moves between them and her young, her long neck and tail no longer just heavy bones and muscle, but delivery systems for chemical pain. One theropod rushes in from the side, jaws open. The sauropod's neck whips around with surprising speed, and peg-like teeth clamp down on the attacker's shoulder. Venom seeps from shallow grooves along those teeth into torn flesh. At the same moment, her tail lashes out, its keratinized spines scratching along the flank of another hunter, leaving thin but venom-laced cuts. The pack pulls back, confused. The contact seemed brief, almost minor. The real damage has only begun. Hours later, the bitten predator is restless. The wound burns with a deep, throbbing pain that spreads along the limb. By night, the flesh is swollen and hot, and dark bruising creeps under the skin as the hemotoxic elements begin to damage small blood vessels. Internal bleeding starts slowly, almost invisibly, while the animal's strength fades. Over the next days, the hunter grows weak, unsteady, and feverish, no longer able to keep up with the pack. What began as a bold attack ends as a lonely collapse beside a riverbank. The theropod's powerful legs tremble, its breathing becomes shallow, and it finally falls, turning from hunter into easy carcass for smaller scavengers. In life, it was one of the most dangerous animals in its environment. In death, it becomes a silent warning. Such outcomes would spread quickly through a predator community. Even without language, repeated encounters leave clear evidence showing that sauropods are not just heavy targets, but delayed killers. A successful bite might still mean a slow doom days later. How many packs would risk that fate again? Over time, this venom system would play an important role in population dynamics. Juvenile sauropods suffer fewer successful attacks. More individuals survive to adulthood, and herds grow larger and more numerous. With more gigantic bodies on the landscape, and fewer large theropods willing to engage them, the balance of power shifts. The stage is set for an arms race, as predators either adapt new tactics or abandon these living fortresses entirely. As predator tactics shift and herds of venom-armed giants dominate the landscape, the skeletons left behind begin to tell a darker story. For millions of years, bones have recorded violence, but in regions ruled by venomous sauropods, that violence looks different. Here, the fossils of the hunters themselves become one of the most haunting lines of evidence. Around ancient nesting grounds, paleontologists in this alternate world would uncover grim clusters of theropod remains. Large predators, such as Allosaurus or Carcharodontosaurids, lie scattered at the edges of sauropod egg sites, their ribs and limb bones showing multiple healed fractures. Scientists have found, in this scenario, ribs broken in several places, forearms snapped and then repaired with thick calluses, and tail vertebrae bent and refused. The pattern suggests repeated high-risk attacks that rarely ended in a clean kill. These hunters kept coming back, and they kept paying for it. Closer examination of the bite marks tells an even more disturbing story. Around some tooth impressions on predator bones, the damage does not match a simple wound that healed quickly. Instead, there is fine micro-damage spreading out from the original injury and strange, uneven remodeling of the bone surface. Under the microscope, the tissue shows patches of dead bone, followed by chaotic regrowth, as if the animal suffered a prolonged systemic illness. In this imagined fossil record, scientists would see evidence showing that the injury was not just mechanical. It carried a biochemical attack, consistent with venom that interfered with blood flow, immunity, or tissue repair. These local stories in bone would be matched by broader patterns in the environment. In regions where venomous sauropods dominate river plains and floodplains, predator populations would leave unusual demographic signatures. Age profiles taken from bone beds might show many juveniles and subadults, but far fewer fully grown adults than expected. High juvenile mortality, combined with repeated injuries in surviving hunters, would indicate that growing up near these giants played an important role in determining which predators reached maturity at all. In safer regions without venomous herds, the same theropod species might show stronger skeletons, fewer pathologies, and a more balanced spread of ages. Over time, paleontologists would begin to connect these clues. Formations rich in sauropod fossils would also hold concentrations of theropod skeletons marked by fractures, infected-looking bite traces, and signs of long-term stress. The association would be too strong to ignore. From these clusters of pathologies, scientists have built a compelling case that some herbivores many millions of years ago fought back with chemistry as well as size. In such a world, the old picture of hunter and hunted starts to collapse. A charge at a sauropod nest is no longer a simple act of predation. It is a gamble against invisible toxins that linger in blood and bone. The giants are not passive victims. They are moving arsenals, and every encounter reshapes the rules of survival. But if the bones hint at venom, could the skulls and teeth of these herbivores reveal how it was delivered? The skulls of these giants tell the rest of the story. Many millions of years ago, broad sauropod jaws and peg-like teeth were built to strip leaves. But in this world, they also hide grooves and canals for venom, turning a defensive bite or tail swipe into a delayed, invisible attack. For large theropods, the open floodplains where sauropod herds dominate are no longer hunting grounds. They are minefields. Powerful predators that once strode confidently between river channels now hesitate at the edges. Instead of charging into the middle of a 30-ton herd, big carnivores linger along forest margins and winding riverbanks, targeting smaller, less dangerous prey. Hadrosaurs, juveniles, and mid-sized ornithopods become safer options than a single venom-armed sauropod shoulder. In this altered environment, risk, not strength, shapes behavior. A single cut from a tail spine or a glancing bite might mean weakness, fever, and death. Days later, scientists have evidence showing that modern large predators are highly risk-averse, avoiding prey that can injure them even if the reward is great. In a Mesozoic filled with venomous herbivores, this instinct would be magnified. The strongest jaws and sharpest teeth are useless if their owner collapses in the shade a week after a failed attack. Over time, selection favors theropods that watch, test, and retreat, rather than those that rush in. Into this hesitation step new specialists. When a giant predator finally falls from venom that has been circulating silently through its blood, the carcass becomes one of the most valuable resources in the landscape. Small theropods with narrow snouts, early mammals with keen senses of smell, and dense swarms of insects converge on the body. Scavengers that can tolerate lingering toxins, or that feed carefully on skin and outer tissues first, played an important role in recycling these dangerous remains. Fossils of bite-marked bones might show this new pattern. Shallow scrapes from many small dinosaurs, gnawing traces from mammal teeth, and delicate drill holes from insect larvae would record an extended, multi-stage feast. Scientists have already seen complex scavenger communities in some bone beds. In a venom-rich world, these scenes become even more intricate. With fewer successful attacks on adult sauropods, plant communities also begin to shift. Venom-protected herds browse more freely across floodplains, moving into areas that would once have been too exposed. Forest edges are pushed back as high-reaching necks strip leaves and branches, while some tougher plants that can survive repeated feeding spread widely. The entire environment bends around the paths of these safer but more destructive plant-eaters. Yet, the psychological landscape may be the most dramatic change. Every encounter carries a question for a predator. Is this wound just a scratch, or the beginning of the end? There is no way to know in the moment. Fear lingers long after the dust settles. And this raises a final challenge. If major herbivores carry venom, how do the classic apex predators respond? And which of them can adapt before their own reign comes to an end? For millions of years, apex predators ruled the land with powerful jaws and strong claws. But in a world of venomous plant eaters, their dominance is no longer guaranteed. Every hunt carries a hidden threat, turning each bite and scratch into a possible countdown to death. In such an environment, natural selection begins to reshape the hunters themselves. Large theropods that survive repeated encounters with venomous herbivores would tend to share certain traits: thicker skin over the face, neck, and lower legs, where tail spikes and horns most often strike, and denser scales forming a living shield at the most dangerous contact points. Scientists have evidence showing that modern animals can evolve faster blood clotting responses and improved toxin handling, so similar changes in dinosaur predators are plausible. Individuals whose blood sealed wounds quickly, or whose tissues were less easily damaged by venom, would be more likely to live long enough to leave fossils. Physiology alone, however, is not enough. Behavior must change as well. Instead of long, exhausting chases beside rivers and floodplains, many large carnivores would rely more on ambush, striking from cover to land a single, decisive bite before retreating. Rather than attacking the most heavily armed ceratopsians or ankylosaurs, they might focus on the least dangerous herbivores, such as smaller hadrosaurs or juveniles on the edge of the herd. Some predators could shift toward increased scavenging, using their powerful sense of smell to locate carcasses where the venom has already run its course. This risk-averse strategy reduces the chance of fresh wounds and reflects patterns scientists have documented in many modern large hunters. Social learning would become one of the most important defenses of all. Young theropods trailing adults across the landscape would watch which prey are avoided, which body regions are never bitten, and how long a wounded herbivore is left alone before it is approached. Over time, this creates a kind of cultural map of danger, passed down through generations. Evidence showing that some predators learn hunting techniques from older individuals in modern ecosystems supports this idea, suggesting that behavior, not just bones and teeth, played an important role in survival many millions of years ago. Morphology would likely shift in dramatic ways. Longer, more flexible necks and extended jaws would allow a predator to strike from farther away, keeping its own body outside the reach of venomous horns, spikes, or whipping tails. Teeth might become narrower and more blade-like, designed for fast, slashing attacks that open deep wounds and then release, instead of the prolonged bone-crushing grip seen in some classic theropods. A quick cut and retreat is safer than wrestling a toxic opponent. Yet one of the most intriguing possibilities lies inside the mouth itself. Could some predators evolve mild countervenoms, or detoxifying saliva, able to break down certain herbivore toxins before they spread? If so, the Mesozoic arms race becomes a biochemical chess match, raising a final question for this chapter. In a world of venom and countervenom, which lineage gains the ultimate advantage, hunters or hunted? In a venom-charged Mesozoic, the answer is surprising. The greatest losers are often the greatest giants. Massive, slow-reproducing predators like large tyrannosaurids or carcharodontosaurids would face a new kind of danger. Each adult represents many years of growth, long periods of juvenile vulnerability, and a huge investment by the population. One venom-induced death is not just a lost hunter, it is a major blow to the stability of the entire predator guild. Scientists have evidence showing that large predators in many ecosystems are highly risk-averse. Even a small chance of crippling injury can shape hunting choices for many millions of years. In a world where a single horn gouge from a ceratopsian or a defensive bite from a hadrosaur might inject blood clotting or tissue-destroying toxins, the calculus changes. A giant theropod with powerful jaws and strong leg muscles might still be deadly, but every close-quarters attack becomes a roll of the dice that the species cannot afford to lose. By contrast, mid-sized, agile theropods could become one of the most successful predator types. Light, fast hunters with narrow skulls, quick reflexes, and slicing teeth would be able to dart in, test a herbivore's defenses, and retreat at the first sign of venom exposure. Instead of wrestling prey to the ground, they could deliver repeated, probing attacks, watching for weakness or confusion caused by shock and pain. In this way, agility and caution play an important role, sometimes more important than sheer strength. This new danger would also fracture predator niches. Some carnivores would specialize in targeting non-venomous or minimally venomous herbivores, such as small ornithopods or juveniles of larger species, avoiding heavily armed adults. Others might shift toward a scavenger hunter strategy, trailing herds and watching for animals already limping or staggering from venom encounters. Just as vultures and hyenas track wounded animals today, these theropods could follow the scent of blood and decay. Their strong teeth and bones adapted to breaking into carcasses rather than surviving a first strike. Here, a pattern interrupt appears in the daily rhythm of the Mesozoic. To escape the most dangerous moments, some predators might become crepuscular or fully nocturnal, hunting at dawn, dusk, or in darkness when venomous herbivores are less alert or less active. Night vision, sensitive hearing, and a powerful sense of smell could be favored, while bright day ambush hunters decline. Could entire predator lineages be pushed into the shadows simply to dodge toxic horns and venomous tail swipes? Taken together, these shifts show that venom does more than add another weapon to the herbivore's arsenal. It rewires who can afford to be a predator at all. Giants pay too high a price for a single mistake, while nimble, flexible hunters rise. In the next step of this thought experiment, the focus turns to the plant eaters themselves. How would venom reshape their bodies, herds, and migrations across an ancient, dangerous environment? In a venom-shaped world, the story of a bite does not end with the attacker limping away. It continues in the shadows, where the weak, the sick, and the dying become the center of a very different kind of hunt. Across floodplains and conifer forests, large predators that once strode with confidence begin to stagger. A carcharodontosaur that slashed a venomous hadrosaur hours earlier now breathes hard, its vision blurring, muscles trembling. It pauses by a riverbank, powerful legs shaking, then collapses with a heavy crash. For a moment, there is silence. Then, the scavengers arrive. Smaller theropods circle first, keeping a careful distance as the giant still twitches. Their sharp teeth strip at softer tissues around the eyes, lips, and belly. Evidence showing that many meat-eating dinosaurs switched easily between hunting and scavenging suggests that such scenes would have been common. In the undergrowth, early mammals slip in and out of the carcass, feeding on organs and gristle that the larger dinosaurs leave behind. Crocodiliforms slide from muddy channels, drawn by vibrations and the scent of blood in the water. They clamp strong jaws around dangling limbs, twisting away pieces of flesh. Insects join the feast almost immediately. Flies lay eggs in the open wounds, created during the struggle, and in fresh punctures where venom entered. Within hours, maggots begin to move through the tissue, speeding the breakdown of muscle and skin. In a world where venom often causes slow decline rather than instant death, parasites flourish. Ticks cluster around swollen bite sites, taking advantage of damaged skin and sluggish hosts. Biting flies track the scent of infection, landing again and again on open sores. Inside the bodies of these weakened giants, worms expand through blood vessels and intestines, helped by compromised immune systems and days of stress. Scientists have found that in modern ecosystems, long illnesses create ideal conditions for such parasites. Many millions of years ago, venomous herbivores would have multiplied those opportunities. Over time, certain animals would become specialists at reading the language of venom. Some small theropods might learn to follow the stumbling gait, labored breathing, and strange posture of a poisoned predator. Others could key in on unusual scents from stressed sweat and decaying tissue. These venom trackers would rarely risk attacking healthy prey. Instead, they would trail a victim for hours or days, waiting for the moment when its strong muscles finally fail. This constant attention from scavengers and parasites creates powerful feedback loops. Carcasses are stripped more quickly, broken apart, and scattered across riverbanks and forest floors. Bones are crushed, trampled, and buried, returning nutrients to the soil at an accelerated rate. In turn, richer soils feed dense ferns, cycads, and flowering plants, which support even larger herds of venom-armed herbivores. Venom, in this sense, becomes one of the most important invisible engines of the environment. Venom does more than save a single plant eater from a single attack. It sustains entire hidden communities that live from the drawn-out suffering it causes. But how would those plant eaters themselves change when every bite and wound shapes not just survival, but the very landscape they walk through? In such a poisoned landscape, social life among plant-eating dinosaurs would not remain the same. For millions of years, herds had been the main defense against powerful predators. But venom changes the balance between safety in numbers and the danger carried by each individual. Some venomous herbivores would no longer need vast crowds to feel protected. A medium-sized hadrosaur with grooved, venom-bearing teeth and a crushing bite could inflict a wound that continues to weaken a hunter for days. Instead of forming endless, tightly packed herds, these dinosaurs might move in smaller, looser groups, confident that even a single adult could make an attacking theropod pay a terrible price. Scientists have evidence showing that large predators are highly risk-averse, when every bite might deliver toxins as well as torn flesh. Even a modest herd becomes a serious gamble. Yet, the opposite pattern would also emerge. Some venomous plant eaters would become moving fortresses, keystone herds, whose presence reshapes the behavior of everything around them. Imagine a broad-frilled ceratopsian whose facial horns carry venom along shallow grooves, or an ankylosaur with tail spikes that deliver blood-thinning toxins. Non-venomous dinosaurs, from small ornithopods to long-necked juveniles, would shadow these dangerous giants, keeping just enough distance to avoid accidental strikes, but close enough to share their defensive shield. In this way, venom would play an important role in drawing mixed species processions across the floodplains. To make such alliances work, the signal must be clear. Many venomous species on Earth advertise their chemical weapons with bright colors and bold patterns, and similar warning systems would likely appear along dinosaur hides, frills, and crests. Broad bands of contrasting colour on the tail, flashing throat sacs, or sharply defined facial markings could announce, this bite is more than teeth and pressure. Specialised postures, such as raised tails, spread frills, or deliberate slow turns to expose venom glands, would warn both predators and neighbouring herbivores. Loud, repetitive calls might become acoustic danger labels, instantly recognisable across the ancient environment. Maternal behaviour would also shift under the shadow of biochemical power. Venomous mothers, especially in smaller species, could take far more active roles in defending nests and hatchlings, knowing that a single well-placed strike to a predator's leg or face might end the threat entirely. Nesting grounds might be ringed by vigilant adults, standing in exposed positions and displaying warning colours so that prowling hunters think twice before testing their luck. Fossils of clustered trackways showing adults circling juvenile groups would be one of the most telling signs of such strategies many millions of years ago. In this altered world, plant eaters would not gather only to find food, mates, or warmth. Their herds, displays, calls, and migrations would all revolve around managing, sharing, and advertising invisible chemical power. Social life itself becomes a negotiation over who carries venom, who shelters beneath it, and who dares to challenge it next. In such a world, danger would not only be hidden in glands and grooves, it would also be written on the skin. Among living animals, venom takes two very different visual paths. Some species, like poison dart frogs and coral snakes, blaze with bright aposematic colours that warn any observer to stay away. Others, including many vipers and ambush spiders, keep their venom secret, blending into the environment and striking only when the target is already within reach. For venomous herbivorous dinosaurs, both strategies would be possible, but the balance of risk and reward would be very different. A small ambush predator can afford to be cryptic because it relies on surprise and quick escape. A multi-ton plant eater facing a powerful theropod cannot vanish into the undergrowth. For such giants, the safest attack is often the attack that never happens at all. Clear warning signals could turn deadly contact into distant standoff. Scientists have evidence showing that some dinosaurs already carried striking visual displays. Ceratopsians had large frills with grooves and knobs, where blood vessels and soft tissue may have supported vivid patterns. Hadrosaurs had tall crests that could have been brightly coloured. Even ankylosaurs carried bony plates that might have been covered by contrasting skin. If venom evolved in these groups, those same structures could become one of the most important billboards of chemical defense. In this scenario, a venomous triceratops might face a predator with a raised, forward-tilted frill, revealing bold eye-like markings that signal danger. Horns could show bands of contrasting colour that darken with age, advertising both maturity and toxic ability. Along riverbanks, hadrosaur herds might display striped tails or patchwork flanks that flash as they turn together, sending a moving wave of warning through the floodplain. Display would not be limited to colour alone. Some modern venomous lizards flatten their bodies and open their mouths wide, showing the interior as a stark visual threat. A venomous herbivorous dinosaur could do the same, revealing grooved teeth, swollen gum tissues around venom canals, or darkened tongue patches that hint at hidden glands. Raised tails, lowered heads, and synchronized stamping within a herd could create a powerful signal that any bite or kick might carry more than just physical force. Yet, there would be a cost to such honesty. A predator deterred by bright venom signals is a clear benefit. But those same markings would also make individuals more visible to rivals and competitors. In dry seasons, when food was scarce and herds pressed together around shrinking water sources, highly visible venom bands or frill patterns might draw the attention of other herbivores competing for the same plants. Social contests could become more intense, as animals judged not only size and horn length, but also the strength of displayed chemical power. Fossils preserve bones and sometimes impressions of skin, but not the full palette of ancient colours. If it were possible to step back many millions of years and see these warning patterns and dramatic displays in motion, would the familiar image of gentle plant eaters survive at all? Or would it be replaced by something far more unsettling in the next scene? To turn that unsettling vision into science, the next question is simple but demanding. What would a venomous dinosaur actually look like in the fossils? Not in skin and colour, but in hard, silent bone. In living venomous animals, certain patterns repeat again and again. Many snakes and some lizards carry grooved or hollow teeth that guide venom into a wound. Their skulls show enlarged spaces where powerful glands once sat, and tiny canals run through the bones, forming a protected route for nerves, ducts, and blood vessels. Scientists have used these features to identify venom systems, even when soft tissues are long gone. These are some of the most important clues for any search in deep time. Applied to herbivorous dinosaurs, the same logic becomes a powerful tool. In hadrosaurs, with their long, flat snouts and dense batteries of grinding teeth, the focus would fall on the front of the jaws. Grooved replacement teeth or oddly expanded sockets along the beak margin could hint at a defensive bite that delivered more than just pressure. In ceratopsians, attention would shift to the sharp beak and the large openings behind the eyes. Extra chambers or unusual ridges on the bones around the cheek region might mark attachment points for venom glands that played an important role in deterring attackers many millions of years ago. Ankylosaurs, wrapped in armor, offer a different target. Their tail clubs and shoulder spikes are built from heavy, fused bones. If any of these spikes showed internal canals running from the body into the tip, with exit grooves near the surface, that pattern could resemble venom-delivering spines in some modern fish. Even sauropods, often seen as gentle giants, would not escape inspection. Scientists would examine their peg-like teeth and massive skull openings for strange grooves or extra tunnels, especially around the jaw joint, where glands could be protected inside thick bones. Modern technology sharpens this hunt. High-resolution CT scanning can reveal hidden channels inside fossil skulls, tracing pathways no human eye can see from the surface. Bone histology, the microscopic study of thin slices of bone, can expose unusual textures or remodeling that match areas of repeated gland pressure or duct passage. There is already evidence showing that subtle canals in some ancient reptiles correspond to soft tissue systems, so any similar pattern in dinosaur bones would demand careful testing. Yet, in the real fossil record, convincing proof has not appeared. Teeth of hadrosaurs and ceratopsians are well known, but none show clear, repeating venom grooves. Ankylosaur armor is dense and complex, but internal canals match blood supply rather than delivery systems. Soft tissues rot, delicate ducts collapse, and many fossils are crushed, so preservation bias hides much of the original anatomy. Even so, any serious claim of venom in dinosaurs would require multiple, converging lines of evidence. Specialized teeth, modified skull spaces, microscopic bone changes, and an environment where such a dangerous defense makes ecological sense. Without that network of support, venom remains an intriguing but unproven shadow. The next step is to ask how such a shadow, if real, would have changed the behavior of predators around it. That shadow becomes even more interesting when compared with the few real hints of venom hiding in the fossil record. For many millions of years, reptiles and their relatives experimented with strange skull shapes, deep pits, and mysterious grooves in the bones. Among them are a handful of extinct creatures that some scientists have suggested might have carried venom. One of the most discussed examples is not a dinosaur at all, but a small therapsid called Eucymbersia from the late Permian. Its skull shows an enlarged fossa in front of the eye and unusual canals leading toward the teeth. Some researchers see this as evidence showing that a powerful gland once filled that space, perhaps producing venom that flowed along the teeth during a bite. In this view, Eucymbersia becomes one of the most ancient venomous land vertebrates known from fossils. Early snakes and some primitive lizards from the Mesozoic have also entered this debate. Their jaws sometimes show grooved teeth, deepened pits, or expanded regions of bone along the upper jaw where a venom gland might have rested. Scientists have compared these features to living venomous snakes, where hollow or grooved teeth and large gland spaces play an important role in delivering toxins. The similarities raise an obvious question. Did some of these early reptiles already use venom to subdue prey or defend themselves? However, each proposed case comes with serious controversy. The same enlarged fossa that might hold a venom gland could also support a large salivary gland or a strong facial muscle. The same canal that might carry venom could instead house nerves or blood vessels. Some paleontologists argue that in Eucymbersia, for example, the canals are better explained as pathways for sensory structures, or for ordinary secretions that helped lubricate food rather than poison it. In other fossils, deep skull pits might even be related to scent glands, display features, or simple changes in skull weight reduction. This is why claims of ancient venom are tested so carefully. Scientists have to ask whether the grooves on the teeth are really for venom, or just strengthen the tooth surface. They must decide if a hollow space in the skull is unusually large for a gland, or simply part of the normal variation in head shape in a changing environment. Without soft tissues, these questions are hard to answer. Crucially, no non-avian dinosaur has yet shown clear, widely accepted signs of a venom system. There are no confirmed dinosaur skulls with the specific combination of enlarged gland chambers, dedicated canals, and specialized teeth that define modern venomous species. That absence does not prove it never existed, but it does mean the idea of venomous plant-eating dinosaurs remains firmly in the realm of speculation. This makes the thought experiment stronger, not weaker. It is built on real anatomical principles and real debates about extinct reptiles. Yet, it does not claim that venomous dinosaurs truly walked the earth. Instead, it asks a focused question. If herbivorous dinosaurs had followed the same evolutionary path as those debated venom-bearing relatives, how would that have changed the balance of power? The answer leads directly into the next step, exploring how venom actually works in living animals and what kinds of systems ancient plant-eaters might have evolved. To understand why venomous herbivorous dinosaurs remain a thought experiment and not a confirmed reality, it helps to look at what these animals already possessed. For many millions of years, plant-eating dinosaurs defended themselves with armor plates, massive horns, tail clubs, and sheer size. Some added speed and sharp senses. In such an environment, a biochemical weapon like venom may simply not have been necessary. Large ceratopsians, for example, carried huge neck frills and long facial horns that could pierce deep into the bodies of attacking predators. Ankylosaurs were wrapped in heavy bony armor with powerful tail clubs that could shatter bones. Even hadrosaurs, often seen as gentle, had strong legs and lived in herds where many eyes and many bodies offered safety. When strong physical defenses already worked, natural selection might not favor the extra complexity of venom. Venom is not free. In modern animals, it requires specialized glands, delivery systems such as grooved or hollow teeth, and complex mixtures of proteins that must be produced and maintained. Scientists have evidence showing that these systems are metabolically expensive. For a large herbivore that already invests energy in growing thick bones, heavy armor, or fast twitch muscles for running, adding venom glands could be one burden too many. The cost might outweigh the benefit. There is also competition between different defensive strategies. In many dinosaur lineages, investment in social behavior may have played an important role. Herding, nesting colonies, and coordinated movement could confuse or overwhelm predators long before any venom would be needed. In others, the answer was sensory acuity or physical weapons, better hearing, wider visual fields, or longer spikes and plates. When one of the most effective solutions is simply to grow bigger, tougher, or more alert, a chemical defense may never gain a foothold. Another factor is evolutionary history. Venom has evolved independently many times in reptiles and mammals, but it often begins in small, agile animals that rely on surprise or quick bites. Many classic herbivorous dinosaurs were huge, slow-maturing giants. Their life strategy centered on outgrowing danger rather than poisoning it. Could such giants still have developed venomous bites or tail spines? It is possible, but the pathway might have been less likely than in small, secretive hunters or omnivores. Yet, absence of clear proof does not mean venom never appeared. Soft tissues like glands rarely fossilize, and even specialized teeth can be hard to interpret after millions of years of wear and breakage. It is possible that a few small, plant-eating dinosaur lineages carried mild venom that left no obvious trace in the fossils that had been found so far. This uncertainty leads to a final question. If venomous herbivores did exist, but are hidden from view, how different might ancient ecosystems have been? The lack of direct evidence keeps that world firmly in the realm of what if, and sets the stage for imagining how such venom systems could have worked in detail. To see what venomous herbivores truly mean, the view must pull far back, high above the ancient continents. For millions of years, giant dinosaurs shaped the land below. But in this altered Mesozoic, the most important lines on the map are not mountain chains or rivers. They are invisible biochemical borders, carved by fear of venom. Across regions where venom-bearing plant-eaters are common, the pattern of life changes in clear planetary scale bands. Large theropod predators thin out, their hunting ranges stretched and broken, because every attack carries the risk of a slow, agonizing death. In their place, slow but heavily defended herbivores dominate. Armored ankylosaurs with toxic tail spikes, horned ceratopsians whose bites deliver burning pain, and hadrosaurs whose seemingly simple teeth hide venomous grooves. Herds here are dense, layered, and long-lived, forming moving fortresses that few strong-jawed hunters dare to test. In contrast, other regions become predator refugia. These are landscapes where venomous herbivores are rare or absent, perhaps due to climate, plant chemistry, or ancient isolation. From orbit, they stand out as belts of more traditional apex-dominated food webs. Tyrannosaur-like giants patrol river valleys, allosaurs rule open floodplains, and the vegetation shows heavier grazing scars. Grasses do not yet exist, but ferns, cycads, and conifers are cropped low, and often, because the plant eaters here rely on speed, armor, and herd size, not poison, to survive. This split reshapes the climate and the ground itself. In venom-rich zones, altered grazing pressure leaves some plants less damaged, allowing thicker undergrowth and patchier clearings. Carcasses of poisoned predators and injured herbivores are scattered rather than clustered around kill sites, changing how nutrients return to the soil. Scientists have found evidence showing that, in modern systems, such patterns can shift soil chemistry and water flow. In this scenario, they would have played an important role in steering entire plant communities. Over millions of years, different forests, different fire regimes, and even different carbon storage patterns would emerge. From a satellite-like perspective, another striking feature appears: the migration lines. Mixed herds trace broad, looping paths across continents, but their routes are not random. Many clusters form around the safest centers of venom, with large sauropods shadowing ankylosaur lines, and juvenile hadrosaurs hugging the edges of toxic ceratopsian groups. Predators respond by carving out avoidance corridors, narrow bands where their tracks bend sharply away from these dangerous living shields. Why charge into a venom wall when easier prey waits beyond the horizon? This wide-angle view reveals one of the most important lessons of this thought experiment. A change hidden inside glands, teeth, and bones does not only alter a single bite or a single hunt. It redraws migration routes, shifts forests, redirects rivers of nutrients, and divides continents into zones of risk and refuge. A biochemical twist in herbivores would not simply tweak behavior. It would rewrite the living map of Earth itself many millions of years ago, and challenge how fossils are interpreted in the present. In such a rewritten living map, the most fragile creature is not a hadrosaur or a horned giant. It is a human suddenly dropped into this alternate Cretaceous, surrounded not only by powerful bodies and strong bones, but by invisible chemistries that turn every close encounter into a delayed threat. The danger does not end when the teeth let go. In some cases, it might only be beginning. Imagine a small group of time-traveling observers stepping out onto a floodplain filled with grazing herbivorous dinosaurs. At first, the landscape appears peaceful, hadrosaurs lifting their heads, ceratopsians shifting in loose herds, ankylosaurs resting like armored boulders. Yet, in this world, a single scrape from a spiked tail, a shallow bite from a beaked mouth, or even contact with venom left on foliage could start a chain of events that kills days later. How could any human know which animals are safe to approach when the true weapon is microscopic and silent? Human hunting strategies would be pushed to their limits in such an environment. Traditional methods rely on distance, throwing spears, launching arrows, coordinating groups to harass and exhaust large prey. Against venomous herbivores, closing in to finish a wounded animal becomes one of the most dangerous moments of all. A hunter who misjudges a hadrosaur's final thrash, or steps too close to an ankylosaur's tail, risks a tiny puncture that looks harmless at first. Hours later, tissue might begin to rot. Blood could fail to clot, and strength could drain away while the herd has already vanished beyond the river. Medical challenges in this world would be immense. Scientists have documented many different venom types in modern animals, from hemotoxins that destroy blood vessels to neurotoxins that shut down nerves. Without anti-serum, and with only primitive tools, even a small dose from a plant-eating dinosaur could become one of the most difficult injuries to treat. How does a field medic respond when a simple puncture on the leg swells to the size of a head, or when internal bleeding begins with no visible wound? Cutting away tissue, cauterizing, or using herbs might slow the damage, but there would be no guarantee of survival. Even scientific study would be transformed. In a non-venomous world, researchers imagine carefully approaching herbivores, observing behavior, and reading the environment through tracks and fossils. In this alternate history, every close observation of a living animal would carry the risk of contact with venom on skin, claws, or shed teeth. Evidence showing that some modern reptiles deliver venom through shallow grooves suggests that similar structures in dinosaur fossils would warn of hidden danger. Yet such clues might only be recognized after countless accidents. In such a Cretaceous, the most terrifying dinosaurs are not always the ones that charge, roar, or chase across open ground. They are the ones that seem to retreat, that vanish into the forest, leaving behind a wound that appears minor. Many millions of years ago, in this imagined world, the deadliest encounter might be the one that seemed to end safely, and the true horror would begin long after the dinosaur itself has disappeared from sight. In this imagined world, that quiet retreat into the forest would stand in sharp contrast to the brutal certainty of a classic apex attack. For millions of years, predators like Tyrannosaurus rex and Giganotosaurus represented immediate, high-impact killing power. Their massive skulls, thick teeth, and crushing jaws delivered results in seconds. A single bite could shatter bones, tear huge pieces of flesh, and end a struggle in a violent, decisive moment. Venomous herbivores would change what danger means. Instead of one explosive event, a defensive bite or horn scrape might look minor at first. The predator might even drive the plant eater away and believe the hunt had failed. Hours later, the real battle would begin inside its body. Blood might stop clotting, muscles could lock, or nerves might start to misfire. A hunt that seemed survivable would turn into a slow, inescapable decline. From the predator's perspective, this difference is critical. A failed attack on a traditional herbivore carries the risk of broken ribs, goring wounds, or crushed limbs. These dangers are immediate and obvious. But a failed attack on a venomous hadrosaur or ceratopsian would carry an invisible cost. The theropod might walk away, only to weaken over days, becoming unable to hunt, falling behind its group, and finally collapsing. Which is more terrifying? Instant death in a violent clash, or a delayed sentence that cannot be reversed? In such an environment, danger would be measured in different currencies. Physical trauma would still matter, as powerful tailclaps, horns, and armored plates continued to break bones and tear flesh. Yet, psychological deterrence would grow just as strong. Stories, in the form of repeated outcomes, would spread through predator populations. Scientists have evidence showing that large carnivores in modern ecosystems avoid certain prey after painful experiences. Many millions of years ago, a similar learning process could make entire hunting strategies vanish. Over time, an ecosystem-wide fear would develop. A tyrannosaur that watched a packmate waste away after a small bite from a particular hadrosaur might never attack that species again. Younger hunters would follow this pattern without ever seeing the original injury. The act of predation itself would become weaponized because every attempt carried the chance of delayed poisoning that no strength or thick skin could block. In some respects, such venomous herbivores might be more destabilizing than any single apex predator. Classic hunters remove prey and shape herds, but they do so in predictable ways. Venomous plant eaters would alter behavior on both sides, changing migration routes, hunting grounds, and even body size over time. The central inversion becomes clear. In this world, the most dangerous dinosaurs are not the ones doing the hunting. They are the ones being hunted, turning every chase into a gamble that could haunt the winner long after the battle ends. In this inverted world, fear itself would come in different flavors. Not all venomous plant eaters would be dangerous in the same way, and predators would learn to sort that danger into clear mental categories. Some encounters would be sudden explosions of trauma and toxin, others slow biochemical traps, and a few would be rare but almost mythic disasters that echoed across entire ecosystems. At one end stand the instant impact defenders, ceratopsians and ankylosaurs. A charging triceratops already offered one of the most terrifying threats many millions of years ago, with long horns, a heavy frill, and powerful neck muscles. Add venom to those horns, and every successful hit becomes more than a wound. It becomes a countdown. Scientists have imagined pain-intensifying venoms that inflame nerves and prevent blood from clotting. A predator gored in the chest might stagger away alive, but the hours that follow would burn that encounter into memory. Ankylosaurs, in contrast, would weaponize the sudden shock of impact. Their tail clubs were built from strong fused bones and driven by thick muscles. With venomous spikes or a gland-lined fracture surface, a single swing could shatter legs and drive toxin deep into tissue. The result is a double hazard: catastrophic bone damage followed by spreading venom. For large theropods, these animals become ecological black holes for predation. The risk is so high and the payoff so low that attacking them almost disappears from the behavioral menu. Hadrosaurs would dominate a very different category: stealthy biochemical traps. Their teeth were already specialized for grinding plants. But in this scenario, the real danger lies in saliva and soft tissue. A predator that clamps down on a hadrosaur's flank might win the hunt, yet still lose the war. Slow-acting venoms that disrupt blood chemistry or cause delayed organ failure would turn every bite into a gamble. This shared death strategy means the plant eater may fall first, but its attacker carries the cost. Evidence showing that many modern venom systems work over hours or days supports how effective this could be in large-bodied dinosaurs. Finally, sauropods become the ultimate wildcards. These giants already played an important role in shaping their environment simply by existing in huge herds and stripping vast amounts of vegetation. If even a small fraction carried venom in tail spikes, thumb claws, or specialized jaw tissues, each rare strike against a predator could be catastrophic. A single envenomed tail blow might kill a top hunter after several days, removing a key carnivore from the region. Over time, such events would ripple through entire predator guilds, altering territory boundaries and hunting strategies. In this ranking of threat types, the message to carnivores is clear. Some plant eaters hurt immediately, some kill slowly, and some change the rules of the whole landscape. But how would scientists ever detect such hidden weapons in the fossil record, many millions of years after these battles ended? For millions of years, giant dinosaurs ruled a dynamic and often dangerous planet. But all their weapons and defenses met their greatest test at the very end. The hidden fangs, grooved teeth, and imagined venom glands of plant eaters would have faced something far more deadly than any predator: the sudden violence of the Earth itself. Scientists have strong evidence showing that an asteroid struck the planet about 66 million years ago. The impact threw dust, ash, and vapor into the atmosphere, darkening the sky around the globe. Sunlight dropped, temperatures fell, and plants withered as photosynthesis collapsed. Forests and open plains turned from rich feeding grounds into silent, dying landscapes, and the complex food webs that had supported both peaceful herbivores and powerful hunters began to fall apart. In such a catastrophe, venom changes very little about the core problem. Venom is a biological weapon that alters the relationships between living animals. But it does not warm a freezing climate or bring back dead plants. No amount of biochemical defense can stop global cooling, acid rain, or months of darkness. Even the most dangerous bite from a horned, duck-billed, or armored dinosaur would do nothing against empty feeding grounds and failing ecosystems. In the first weeks and months after the impact, venomous herbivores might have gained a small advantage. Starving tyrannosaurs, abelisaurs, and raptors forced to take greater risks might test new prey, only to suffer burning pain, swelling, or organ failure from a single defensive strike. A wounded predator, poisoned and weakened, would struggle to chase anything. Could this allow a few venom-armed plant eaters to survive a little longer, guarding the last patches of edible leaves or seeds? Even so, both sides still face the same hard limit: food. As plant communities crash, large herbivores starve first, and their decline removes the main resource for giant carnivores. Venom might make individual encounters more dangerous, but it cannot create new energy in a darkened environment. In the end, the asteroid does not care how sharp the teeth are, how strong the tail is, or how complex the glands have become. Specialized systems such as venom glands, hollow or grooved teeth, and finely tuned delivery muscles may even become liabilities. These features evolved under stable or slowly changing conditions that lasted many millions of years and played an important role in finely balanced arms races. In a world where climates lurch, plants vanish, and habitats fragment, flexibility and generalist diets matter more than any elegant chemical weapon. So, would venom have truly saved the dinosaurs? Most scientists consider that unlikely. Venom could have reshaped hunting strategies, territory boundaries, and fear itself for millions of years before the impact, making some herbivores one of the most dangerous animals in their environments. But when the asteroid struck, even the deadliest plant eater would still face the same darkness. The real question becomes, if some lineages endured those first desperate years, how might venom echo into the age of mammals that followed? If venom-armed herbivores did survive into the age of mammals, their story would reveal more than just new monsters. It would show how tiny changes inside a body can reshape an entire environment over millions of years. A small gland at the base of the jaw, a shallow groove along a tooth, or a new canal through the skull might seem minor at first, yet over deep time, those details could redirect fear, behavior, and even extinction. Scientists have evidence showing that venom has evolved independently many times in reptiles, fish, mammals, and even some birds. Each time, it began as something simple, like a slightly irritating secretion or a mild anticoagulant in saliva. In a venomous dinosaur lineage, the same pattern would apply. A hadrosaur whose bite caused intense swelling, or an ankylosaur whose tail spikes delivered a burning toxin, would not need instant kills. It would only need to make every attack on it feel dangerously uncertain. In that uncertainty lies the heart of an evolutionary arms race. Every new defense invites a counter. If herbivores developed pain-inducing or blood-clotting venoms, predators would respond with thicker skin, faster clotting, or behaviors that kept them away from the most dangerous body parts. A theropod might strike only at the neck to avoid toxic tail clubs, or hunt in larger groups to share the risk. Over time, this back and forth would create complex, often unpredictable predator-prey relationships. Modern ecosystems already show how powerful such dynamics can be. Venomous snakes influence where large mammals drink, how they move at night, and which paths they avoid. Toxic amphibians shape the hunting patterns of birds and fish. In some forests, a single highly venomous species plays an important role in teaching predators caution. The same forces, magnified to dinosaur scale, could have turned certain valleys or riverbanks into invisible danger zones that only the most experienced hunters dared to enter. Here, the pattern interrupts a common picture of plant-eating dinosaurs as simple, passive giants. Instead, grounded speculation based on real venom biology and fossils forces a more complex view. By asking how grooved teeth, skull canals, or gland impressions might appear in the rock record, scientists sharpen their understanding of both real and imagined worlds. Even when fossils do not show venom, searching for it clarifies which signals truly matter and which are illusions. In the end, this kind of thought experiment is not only about what might have happened many millions of years ago. It also reveals how small anatomical changes can echo through entire food webs, how fear can be as important as teeth or claws, and how evidence guides imagination. The next step is to bring these ideas together, to see what this alternate Mesozoic teaches about the real planet shared with living animals today. In this imagined Mesozoic, the most dangerous weapons did not always belong to the hunters. Many millions of years ago, in this alternate world, plant-eating dinosaurs turned chemistry into defense, and every bite or blow carried a hidden cost. The duck-billed hadrosaurs were the first sign that something in this environment had changed. Their broad beaks and batteries of grinding teeth still sliced through tough plants. But in this scenario, specialized glands along the jaw leaked anticoagulant venom into deep grooves in their teeth. A single defensive bite did not drop a predator instantly. Instead, it turned each wound into a slow disaster, where blood refused to clot, and even a strong theropod could bleed and weaken for days. For a hungry hunter, every attack became a question. Was this meal worth the risk of a delayed death? Behind them, roamed the horned ceratopsians, already one of the most heavily armed herbivores in the fossil record. Here, their horns and frill spikes did more than pierce flesh and crack bones. Channels within the horn cores carried tissue-destroying toxins, so a grazing jab could become a spreading nightmare of swelling, infection, and necrosis. Scientists have imagined how a single charge from a triceratops-like animal in this world would not just throw a predator to the ground, but condemn it to days of burning pain that played an important role in shaping which attacks were ever attempted. Even closer to the ground, the ankylosaurs turned their living armor into a mobile chemical bunker. Their tail clubs, already powerful enough to shatter leg bones, became delivery systems for necrotizing venom packed into keratin sheaths and spike bases. A glancing blow could crack bone, a full strike could both break and poison it. Evidence showing that large predators in such an environment would avoid even healthy ankylosaurs is strong, because one misjudged attack might mean a crippled limb, rotting tissue, and a slow end for the hunter. Towering above all of them, the sauropods in this thought experiment remained the giants of the landscape, but with a rare, devastating twist. Some lineages developed venomous bites in their peg-like teeth, or toxic barbs along whip-like tails. These giants did not need to strike often. A single successful lash that injected potent shock-inducing compounds into a predator's muscles could send waves of fear through entire populations. As stories of fallen hunters were written in scattered fossils and healed bite marks. Taken together, these herbivores no longer resemble passive prey. In this altered world, plant eaters became architects of danger, forcing predators to evolve caution, new strategies, and perhaps new defenses of their own. What would such an arms race do to the balance of power, to hunting tactics, and to the shape of dinosaur ecosystems themselves? The next step is to follow those ripples through the food web and watch the entire Mesozoic change. In many ecosystems, the most dangerous animals are not the hunters at the top, but the prey that refuses to die quietly. Many millions of years ago, this would have been true in dinosaur worlds as well. A venomous plant eater, armed with hidden chemical weapons, could turn a simple bite or kick into a slow, terrifying disaster for any predator bold enough to attack. Scientists have evidence showing that, even in modern environments, large carnivores are often more afraid of certain herbivores than of rival hunters. Cape buffalo that can gore lions, porcupines that leave spines buried deep in flesh, and venomous snakes that kill with a single strike all demonstrate the same lesson. Danger is not only about who chases whom, it is about who can afford to make a mistake. In a Mesozoic arms race filled with venomous herbivores, plant-eating dinosaurs become active drivers of evolution, not just background victims. A hadrosaur with grooved teeth and pain-inducing venom would push predators to attack only from certain angles, or to avoid healthy adults entirely. A ceratopsian whose horn wounds carried blood-clotting toxins might cause strong theropods to collapse from shock hours after a failed hunt. Over time, such defenses would shape predator behavior, body size, hunting in groups, and even which lineages survived mass extinctions. This flips the usual image of power. Cultural fascination often focuses on teeth, claws, and massive jaws, from Tyrannosaurus rex to Giganotosaurus. These deadly predators had razor-sharp teeth, crushing bites, long claws, and incredible strength. Yet some of the most decisive weapons in nature are subtle. Venom glands buried in the skull, armor plates fused into bones, or social intelligence that allows herds to surround their young. A venom-tipped tail club on an ankylosaur, or a sauropod whose whip-like tail delivered toxins along with broken bones, could be more terrifying to a hungry predator than another set of jaws. Fossils already hint that defense played an important role in shaping dinosaur bodies. Thick armor, elaborate horns, and massive tail clubs did not appear by accident. If venom had also entered this contest, the result would be a web of pressures and counter-pressures, where every decision carried new risks. Would a predator attack a weakened, venom-scarred adult, or focus only on juveniles? How many failed hunts could it survive before a single poisoned wound ended its line? Seen this way, dinosaurs are not simple heroes and villains. They are participants in complex, shifting survival games, where power changes hands with each new adaptation. This perspective does more than reimagine herbivores. It invites a different way of thinking about every ancient ecosystem. The final step is to push this idea further, exploring new what-if scenarios grounded in real science, and asking how one change in defense or weaponry could rewrite the entire story of life in the age of dinosaurs. In that spirit, the next question almost asks itself: if one defensive twist can reshape an entire ecosystem, what other evolutionary turns could have changed the age of dinosaurs beyond recognition? Many millions of years ago, the Mesozoic world already held a wide range of powerful predators and heavily armed herbivores. But a few different mutations could have created creatures that seem almost alien while still resting on solid scientific ground. Consider the classic image of the raptor. Fast, feathered, and armed with a sickle-shaped claw, it is already one of the most dangerous hunters in popular imagination. But what if some small raptors had evolved venom glands linked to grooved teeth, similar to certain modern snakes and lizards? Scientists have evidence showing that venom has evolved independently many times, so a similar pathway in small, agile dinosaurs would not break the rules of biology. A light body, sharp senses, and a venomous bite could turn a pack of raptors into one of the most fearsome hunting units in any ancient environment. Another possibility lies above the ground. Pterosaurs ruled the skies with long wings and hollow bones, but most are imagined as lightly built flyers. What if some lineages had developed heavy, bony armor along the back and neck, more like flying ankylosaurs? Strong plates, reinforced joints, and a protective skull could have allowed these animals to glide over dangerous territories without fear of aerial attacks or surprise leaps from predators. This kind of armor already existed on land in many dinosaurs. Shifting it into the air would be a logical extension of known defensive strategies. The water offers yet another path. Some modern fish and aquatic mammals use electric organs to stun prey or ward off threats. Imagine medium-sized aquatic dinosaurs with dense bones for diving and specialized tissues capable of delivering sudden electric shocks. In murky rivers and coastal lagoons, a hidden jolt could stop an attacking predator long enough for escape. Such a system would demand major changes to muscles and nerves, but it would still follow familiar evolutionary principles rather than pure fantasy. Each of these scenarios begins in the same place: fossils, living animals, and the rules of evolution. Evidence from teeth, bones, and preserved soft tissues shows what real bodies can do, and that evidence played an important role in shaping every speculation in this episode. The most compelling alternate histories do not ignore that record. they stretch it carefully. Which traits, weapons, or defenses seem just one mutation away from reality, and which would truly break what scientists know about life on Earth. Viewers are invited to test these limits. In the comments, which other dinosaur worlds should be explored, built from real evidence but pushed into new territory. Venomous raptors, armored pterosaurs, electric aquatic hunters, or something entirely different might guide future investigations. The next step is to follow one of these paths deeper into a specific, fully imagined world where a single adaptation changes everything. And that journey begins in the very next segment. For many millions of years, the Mesozoic was filled with powerful hunters and massive plant-eaters locked in a constant struggle for survival. Some dinosaurs relied only on strong armor and size, but others might have used hidden weapons such as venom, turning every bite or scratch into a deadly risk. This series follows those dangers, both real and imagined, across ancient land and sea. To keep exploring these dangerous worlds, viewers can stay within the Mesozoic. New investigations in this ongoing series will continue to examine the most dangerous dinosaurs and ask how a single adaptation, like venom, could transform an entire environment. Future episodes will return to real apex predators such as Tyrannosaurus rex, Spinosaurus, Giganotosaurus, and Carcharodontosaurus, while also visiting alternate paths where their prey became even more threatening. Subscribing and enabling notifications ensures that each new chapter in this evolving story appears the moment it is released. This speculative Venom world becomes even more striking when compared with episodes focused on confirmed predators. There are detailed profiles of pack hunters like Utahraptor and Deinonychus, and of marine reptiles that ruled the oceans with strong jaws and blade-like teeth. Scientists have gathered evidence showing that these animals used speed, coordination, and raw strength rather than venom to bring down prey. Watching those episodes next allows direct comparison between factual danger and the imagined risks created when plant-eaters strike back with toxic bites or spines. The journey can also extend beyond a single screen. Sharing this episode with friends who enjoy dinosaurs, science fiction, or evolutionary biology turns it into a starting point for deeper conversation. Could hadrosaurs with grooved teeth have delivered pain-inducing venom? Would ankylosaurs with venom-tipped tail clubs have been one of the most dangerous herbivores on land? Each viewer may see different possibilities in the same fossils, and those debates help highlight how much remains unknown. Rewatching key segments with a critical eye can turn dramatic scenes into active learning. When the narration describes imaginary venom glands or specialized skull canals, it is helpful to ask what fossils would be needed to support such claims. Episodes in this series often contrast real evidence with speculative leaps, showing which patterns are based on living venomous reptiles and which are pushed beyond current data. In this way, entertainment and scientific reasoning are woven together, and each return viewing reveals new details about how scientists build ideas from scattered bones. As the camera slowly pulls back, the Mesozoic fades into darkness. The silhouettes of horned ceratopsians, towering sauropods, and hunting theropods dissolve until only the outline of a single skeleton remains. The teeth, the bones, and the empty eye sockets suggest countless stories still hidden in stone. The question lingers in the dark. What other secrets might still be waiting inside fossils already lying in museum drawers? Silent, but filled with possibilities for the next episode. As the last outline of the skeleton fades, the screen opens onto a slow, drifting view of a broad floodplain many millions of years ago. Herds of hadrosaurs move like a living river, their crests rising and falling against a dim, amber sky. Soft mist hangs low over the ground, hinting at a world where even the breath of a plant-eater might carry hidden danger. The pace is unhurried. Credit text begins to appear at the bottom of the frame as distant roars roll like thunder across the ancient landscape. Wind sighs through tall conifers, and the low calls of the hadrosaurs echo over the water. Along the edges of some jaws, the camera lingers on subtly deepened grooves, inviting the question: could such channels have once carried venom along the teeth? The scene shifts, dissolving into a wide shot of charging ceratopsians. Their horns and frills catch the last red light of evening as they surge across a dusty plain. Beneath the names of animators and researchers, a quiet note appears on screen. Venomous horn sheaths and defensive toxins are speculative, inspired by venom in modern mammals and reptiles. Scientists have studied living shrews and lizards that deliver venom through grooves in their teeth, providing evidence showing that similar systems could, in theory, evolve in dinosaurs. Thunder grows louder and blends into the rhythmic boom of heavy footsteps. Ankylosaurs advance through a forest of conifers, their armor plates glistening with rain. Each slow swing of a tail club cuts through the air in almost complete silence, except for the rush of wind and a distant crack of lightning. Over this, another note appears. Venom-tipped tail clubs are a hypothetical extension of known ankylosaur defenses. The camera glides close to the strong, knobby bones of the club, then to the imagined rough texture of a venom-coated spike. A new vista opens on towering sauropods moving through a flooded woodland. Their long necks rise above the trees as credits continue to scroll, accompanied by the low rumble of thunder and the steady hiss of rain. Small text at the side of the frame explains. Soft tissue venom glands are speculative. Skull canals, grooved teeth, and defensive behavior are grounded in real fossils and modern venom biology. This quiet reminder shows how fossils, environment, and living animals together played an important role in building this venomous vision. Gradually, the imagined world begins to dissolve. The roars fade, replaced by the muted hum of a museum gallery. The image resolves into a single fossilized skull under soft white light, its teeth worn, its bones carefully supported by metal arms. Footsteps echo in the distance. A final line of credits passes. Then the screen holds on the empty eye sockets for a long, still moment. Text fades in beneath the skull, simple and calm. The past is written in stone. The possibilities are written in us. The ambient sound falls to silence as the image darkens, leaving only the outline of ancient bones and unanswered questions in the viewer's mind. The screen stays dark for a beat longer than expected. But the story of these dangerous dinosaurs does not end with empty skulls. Far above those silent fossils, their descendants are still in motion, beating wings against the air and carrying ancient genes into the present. Birds are living dinosaurs. Their feathers, hollow bones, and sharp beaks are not new inventions, but refined versions of traits that first appeared many millions of years ago in small, agile theropods. The same basic body plan that once produced powerful predators and strange plant-eaters has been reshaped to fill the skies, forests, and coastlines of the modern world. Scientists have uncovered a growing body of evidence showing that this link is more than a simple family resemblance. Detailed fossils of feathered dinosaurs, preserved with impressions of wings, tails, and even soft tissues, show a step-by-step transition from ground-running hunters to true birds. In this light, any speculation about venom in herbivorous dinosaurs becomes part of a much larger question. How flexible was dinosaur biochemistry, and how far did that flexibility travel into their surviving relatives? Among modern birds, there are already surprising examples. The hooded pituhui of New Guinea carries strong toxins in its skin and feathers, making it dangerous to touch or eat. Other species, such as the little shrike thrush, are also poisonous, likely through the same chemical pathway linked to their insect diet. These animals are not classic venom users, but they prove that bird lineages can interact with powerful toxins in unexpected ways. This opens a quiet but intriguing possibility. If some birds can become poisonous through diet and physiology, could certain bird-like dinosaurs have gone a step further? Perhaps there were small, feathered forms with mildly venomous saliva or glandular secretions around the beak that irritated wounds and slowed predators. There is no direct fossil evidence for such systems, but the repeated evolution of venom in reptiles, fish, and mammals shows that this strategy often played an important role in survival. Here, the pattern interrupts the imagination. Instead of only giant jaws and crushing teeth, picture a delicate, heron-sized dinosaur whose greatest weapon is a biochemical sting hidden in a seemingly harmless bite. Could such creatures have shaped their environment as strongly as larger predators did? Ongoing research in bird and reptile biochemistry is beginning to test these ideas. Scientists are studying genes involved in venom production, saliva enzymes, and skin toxins, comparing them across modern lineages to trace how often similar systems have evolved. Future discoveries in ancient DNA fragments, soft tissue impressions, or unusual skull canals might suddenly expand what is known about dinosaur capabilities. In the end, the danger of dinosaurs is not locked only in the past. It glides on silent wings, hides in genetic codes, and waits in the rock for the next fossil to be found. The story is still unfolding in laboratories, at dig sites, and in the skies overhead. All of this danger, all of these imagined weapons and defenses, belong to a world that ended many millions of years ago. Long before the first humans walked the earth, long before written history or cities or science, dinosaurs were already living out their struggles for survival, shaping and reshaping their environments with every step, bite, and heartbeat. For millions of years, real herbivores and real predators tested each other in an ancient arms race. Strong jaws, heavy armor, sharp horns, and massive tails played an important role in deciding which lineages thrived and which vanished. The venomous defenses explored here remain hypothetical, but the questions behind them are very real. How far can life push its own biology when the pressure to survive becomes extreme? Scientists have evidence showing that venom has evolved independently many times in other animals. Snakes, shrews, and certain lizards use glands, grooves, and specialized teeth to deliver complex chemical weapons. By asking whether some herbivorous dinosaurs might have followed a similar path, this thought experiment turns imagination into a tool. It becomes a way to probe the limits of adaptation and to consider how even a plant eater might transform into one of the most dangerous animals in its ecosystem. Every reconstruction, whether based directly on fossils or extended through disciplined speculation, is really a question in visual form. Grooved teeth in a hadrosaur jaw, hidden canals in a ceratopsian skull, or unusual cavities near the bones of an ankylosaur tail are not just details. They are invitations to ask what those features meant in life. Could they have carried venom? Could they have changed how predators hunted, how herds moved, how entire landscapes felt at dusk? In this way, the silent fossils are given a measured voice. They do not speak in complete sentences, but in fragments of bone, in trace impressions of skin, in the geometry of joints and skulls. Scientists have learned to read that broken record with increasing precision, using scanning technology, chemical analysis, and comparisons with living animals. Yet, there will always be gaps between the data points. That is where careful storytelling steps in, not to replace evidence, but to bridge it. Those who watch, consider, and imagine alongside the fossils become partners in that process. By following a trail that runs from hard evidence to reasoned possibility, the mind tests different versions of the past and weighs which ones could have existed in those ancient environments. In the end, the Mesozoic remains both distant and strangely close. The bones lie in stone, but the questions remain alive. What if is where science and story meet.